I'll bring the meeting of the Board of Health into session. Our first item, as advertised and as we do at each of our meetings, is to open it to the public and press. I see members of the public here. If any would like to speak, please use the podium because it has a microphone, and please identify yourself for the record if you would.
I'm Doris Toohill. I live at 4 Nickerson Road, and I'm here to address some of the comments that were made at the December 6th meeting. I will try specifically to stay to that, but I will give you a little background. I was one of the coordinators of the Save Orleans group who fought the first facility, and we worked hard and long. I'll give you a little past history. When we learned early on about the proposed facility, some of us attended a Cape Cod Commission hearing where Mrs. McCusick stated that as a private citizen and not a member of the Board of Health, and she may very well have been chairperson at that time, I'm not sure, that she thought this proposal was a good thing, I quote, a good thing for Orleans. So we organized. We hired an attorney, Patrick Butler, from a prestigious Boston firm, Nutter, McLennan and Fish, who was involved and still is involved in large issues in Barnstable County.
What year was that, Mrs. Toohill? When was that?
98, 99, when the proposal first came. He took our campaign because he saw us as a grassroots group fighting the establishment of a facility that should not exist in an area such as this. I must add, I think Mrs. McCusick did recuse herself from this hearing, from this project. At the site assignment hearing of February 29th, 2000, at Snow Library, he had to reprimand the moderator, Bruce Gilmore, for his colloquial remarks, for example, addressing the Board of Health members by their first name, by stating, "Excuse me, but who is Chuck?" When Mr. Schneider asked the board members had they read the letter, this was at last December 6th meeting, regarding Margie Fulcher's disassociation with the name Nickerson. That was her maiden name. You remember that? It was an association with the Nickerson from the horse farm. Mrs. McCusick said, and I paraphrase, that she didn't need to read it because she had heard it from the, quote, rumor mongers. Well, the rumor mongers are at it again. The latest rumor being that it appears that someone, perhaps Mrs. McCusick, has already commissioned Mr. Gilmore for the forthcoming site assignment hearing at Snow Library. I respectfully request that if this is so, another moderator be selected, someone impartial. Mrs. McCusick also stated that the necessity of this hearing is so that the opponents could have, and I quote, their moments in the sun, unquote. I find that very condescending and very demeaning from a board member. Mrs. McCusick also stated that the opponents complained that they were not listened to. This is true. We said we were heard because we had to be heard, but that we were not listened to by various boards in the town, not just but the Board of Health. At the end of the meeting, December 6th, probably thinking they were off camera, Mrs. McCusick approached Paul Daniels and stated, quote, "You got us out of a landfill problem," end quote. He certainly did. Bob Burson and the Board of Health at the former dump were responsible for the acceptance of C&D from anywhere and everywhere. They finally had to shut down and accept from Orleans only. In my opinion, it appears that promises were made, promises were kept, and promises are still being kept. Steve Daniels stated at a Board of Selectmen's meeting very early on with this new proposal that the need for their expansion was so that they did not have to turn customers from other towns away. My idea: let's erect signs at all our town entries. Welcome to Orleans. Bring us your debris. When the Daniels attorney, Michael Last, suggested getting an outside consultant, this was in the December 6th meeting, to advise the board, Mrs. McCusick, in her reply, "Do you know all the, quote, hoops you have to jump through," end quote, It might take up to 3 months to complete all these applications. I'm paraphrasing that. Quote, let's get it moving, end quote. Maybe it would behoove Mrs. McCusick to recuse herself from this project, as her time seems to be of the essence, and to concentrate on issues that may be more important to her. A very generous offer, quote unquote, to the same attorney when he offered that the proponent give us a stipend, give the town a stipend, and a provision of a list of possible firms for consulting advice. My very reputable source tells me that this is a very common practice, and adds, make sure that that stipend is put in an escrow account and that the town cuts the check so as to maintain control. My caveat, make sure the town selects its own consultant from its own list. Mr. Snyder, you began by stating to Mr. Daniels that you owed him, quote, a personal debt of gratitude, end quote. Do you often make such remarks to other proponents who come before you? You refer to the complaints against this facility as, quote, minor infractions, end quote. Peanuts, quote, end quote. Silly, quote, end quote. Have you looked at the 25 conditions set by the DEP, copy of which I have here, and the 32, more importantly, the 32 conditions set by the Board of Health of Orleans? Even in our disappointment at losing, after over 4 years of hard work, expense, energy, health conditions, we opined that at least we had gotten 32 conditions. Can you unequivocally state that the dust which escapes when the misting system is turned off during processing, when the torn freezer or refrigerator strips are not performing, when the doors are left open? Now, the first 2 complaints I conferred with Bob Canning, and I got those from him. And the last was Mr. Mayo presented a picture before the Board of Selectmen. Can you equivocally state that that dust does not contain any asbestos and will not affect the health and welfare of our citizens, especially the children who live in that industrial area? There are children who live within that industrial area, whether they're renting apartments or what, they live there. I've visited it. The children who attend the Academy of Performing Arts, the children who enter and exit their school bus stops on Finley Road, and the children who live in the neighborhood north of this facility. We may never know. 20 years or so down the line, I'm not going to be here by choice or by chance. Someone's going to say, how did this ever happen? Have you looked at conditions number 32? I will just refer to that one. I have other conditions which I hope you will record the numbers so that the members can read them. But I'm going to the last condition, which is number 32 on page 20. The applicant shall be required to carry out all of the items agreed to and set forth in paragraph 7 of findings of material facts contained in this decision. So we go back to page 14 where that is located, and I will read that. This is the only one I'm going to read in full. Under findings number 3, vermin such as rodents and insects, and there was a complaint of vermin from a neighboring person of the facility. Construction and demolition material does not offer a supply of food or water adequate for the habitation of vermin. The operator will be required to process the construction and demolition material daily, which will minimize the sheltering for vermin. Now let me just go to an article in the December 14th Cape Cod Times. In a letter from Peter Flood, project manager for Green Seal Environmental Consultants, Green Seal Environmental, consultants hired by Daniels, contested many of the items listed as being in noncompliance. For example, Flood contended the terms of the site assignment states there are no conditions imposed that would require the Daniels Recycling Company to process material on a daily basis. He said there is not always enough material at the facility to process daily. Mr. Canning said he is reviewing the response and has yet to send a reply. I don't know if that reply has gone through yet, Bob, but if it hasn't, you've got the condition where it exists. Okay. We're going to just, I ask you to note these conditions. Because I don't intend to read them. Other conditions of these 32, page 18, number 14, which refers to asbestos and hazard material inspectors. I asked Mr. Canning who the chief inspector was, the hazard inspector, and he mentioned it was Steve Daniels. In the wording of this condition, it said they must employ 2 employees, and one of which always has to be on duty when this is being processed. It may be semantics, but I like words, and to me, a man who is chief operating officer and co-owner of the facility, I don't consider an employee, but I said it may be semantics. Does anybody see a conflict of interest here? On page 18, number 16 and 17, the presence of asbestos fines being inspected by the Board of Health agent and filters inspected for asbestos fines before they're discarded. Is that being done? Is anybody checking? Page 18, number 12, all the trucks must be covered. Mr. Mayo lives on Finley Road, and those trucks go back and forth uncovered. Page 19, numbers 22, 24, 26. Number 22, are the records being kept of the number of trucks coming in and out, what time they come in, how much they weigh in, what they're processing, what they have on their trucks, and this report is to be sent. There are daily reports to be made, to be sent, I believe, once a month. 24, condition 24, the size of the trucks. Mr. Mayo has observed, and he appeared with a picture before the Board of Selectmen. The 28-foot is the limit of the trailer, and he had a picture of a trailer which probably was as close to 48 or 50 feet, and that was going into the facility. And the last, the 26 is unanswered visits, unannounced visits by the health agent. Mr. Snyder, are the citizens supposed to be monitoring these conditions, as the mantra seems to be, why are there so many complaints coming forward now? And when these conditions are violated, and a letter goes out from the Board of Health, and a letter returns in denial from the consultants, as it happens here, is there any follow-up, any consequences? My point is that the Board of Health may not be able to monitor the existing facility. How can you even consider an expansion? As far as the engineers that were, and the attorney that were present, I'm not going to go into this because to me it was so ridiculous, but Mike Last's ridiculous reading of a traffic study presented by Van Ness, I believe, about that 0.3 of a second that it delays for each truck on Eldridge Parkway. He backed away from that pretty quickly because I don't think that was a viable statement. Greg Worston's remarks that the traffic study was not done in January or February. It was done in January the first time around, and that was one of our major concerns. You know what the traffic is on Eldridge Parkway and Lots Hollow Road and wherever in January. It wasn't done, but was it done in March, April, or May? I did see a letter that Mr. Canning showed me dated June with the traffic report, so it was definitely done before our high traffic season. He also stated that the C&D business is seasonal, and therefore that's when the 250 trucks might be processed. Seasonal traffic, seasonal processing, I see a perfect storm. He also stated that larger trucks would result in fewer trips. So how do we account for the more trucks needed to come and go from that facility in order to fill that much larger trailer to capacity? But he stated these trucks would be traveling on the roads anyway. In my opinion, they don't need to travel on our roads. They can continue on Route 6 or Route 6A to other facilities established and accommodate them better. Do you know that what 250 tons per day translates into? 500,000 pounds per day. 125 million pounds per year. That's based on a 5-day week, 50 weeks of the year. Mr. Daniels seems to be caught up in the fact that the town took some of his property years ago by eminent domain. Does this provide him an entitlement? As to his offer to widen an intersection at Godiah Hill Road, who will that benefit? Certainly the individual businesses in that park. But does anyone in that industrial park generate anywhere near the traffic that the Daniels do? And who will pay and provide for their own maintenance? The taxpayers. I disagree with Mrs. McCusick. At the beginning, I think I stated she thought the worst thing for this town was television. I think the best thing that ever happened to this town is television. I love this word. It's going around in political circles, transparency. And that's what I think we have. I find this a justice issue. My late husband and I raised 8 children, and they've generated 18 with a 19th on the way grandchildren. We taught them, you don't cut corners, you play by the rules, you follow the law. And if you don't, you have to accept the consequences. They didn't play by the rules all the time, and they didn't follow the law all the time, but they did get their consequences. So I see this as a justice issue. This is something I live by. I carry it in my car. I showed it to Mr. Canning. And it's from a quote from Edmund Burke. All that is necessary for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. And that's why I'm here. Good women, too. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Duhill. If I may take about a third of a second to respond to the 2 issues that where you identified me by name. One I'd like to explain, and the other I'd like to apologize for. And I've already spoken to Mr. Mayo, who brought up those same 2 issues under my name at the Selectmen's meeting, not yesterday, but a week before. At the beginning of the session that you refer to at our last meeting, I wanted to sort of reassure Mr. Daniels that I was not in any way biased against him. And I made reference to a time, and I'll tell you when it was. It was October 15th, 1996, 11 years ago, when he gave me some advice when they were finishing my house, the bottom line of which was, you're in trouble, get an attorney. And it was good advice, and I followed it. And I'm sort of grateful to him for doing that. That's why I made that comment. He and I have not had ongoing association, certainly no financial nonsense. The other comment that you referred to, and as did Mr. Mayo, I want to apologize for. But I do also want to explain. I kind of was dismissive about the infractions that Mr. Canning discovered when he went to the Daniels facility pursuing 2 complaints that had been made. Now, the complaints that were made he could not substantiate, but he found other infractions, and you've already listed them, really. I should not have kind of dismissed them, and I apologize for that. But the reality is that here we are considering a doubling of the size of the facility and a tripling of the tonnage going in. And when I think of that and the impact that has on our town, and most particularly on those of you who live nearby, really the current infractions, which are operational and could be fixed as soon as they said fix them, really they did seem somewhat inconsequential. But they were not inconsequential completely, and I wish I hadn't used that term. I apologize for that. And that's kind of my answer to where you identified me by name. Now, we could go on at some length. I could ask Mr. Canning to go blow by blow as to what has happened since that visit and how many other site inspections there have been and what correspondence has gone to and fro. But I can summarize it in a couple of sentences. Everything that was found has been followed up upon. Do you want to make any comment?
Yes, I would like to. Thank you very much. I'm glad you came and spoke today. And I'm more than glad that we have television because it allows people, the bully pulpit, whether it's that one or this one, but it has changed how meetings are held. People tend to often give speeches. People tend to often prolong and perform, and it has changed the nature of how meetings are. And it's changed the nature of how you feel when you're sitting here talking. Having said that, I would remind you, since you believe in justice and fair play, that some of the comments you made bordered on libel and bordered on gross misrepresentations and untruths. And I'm not above taking legal action for people who are on the verge of slandering me. I am not above that, and you can pass that around. I do not know Mr. Gilmore's first name. I did not deal with him during the first site assignment, because you're correct, I recused myself from those hearings. I wouldn't know how to contact him and employ him for the next position that may be open during site assignment. That borders on libel and slander, as do the comments, promises were made, promises were
I said
kept,
in
and
my-
promises still being made.
I said in my
Excuse me, this is
opinion.
my turn, Mrs. Toohill.
One at a time, please, one at a time.
This is my turn. So I firmly believe in the placard you carry around your car, and also the one that no good deed goes unpunished. There are people in this board who have given up big chunks of their life to do something for their town and do a good job at it, and have the neighbors in mind. This board was the first board in town that made the decision to call this a major modification and refer it to the Cape Cod Commission. I know, because I made the motion. And one of the reasons I stated, if you would watch that television tape a little more closely, is that that will be the only forum where there will be a public hearing, where the neighbors and abutters can have their say.
Have their
So as long,
moment in the
Mrs.
sun.
Toohill, please.
One at a time, please.
Please. So as long as you are sharing how this board is functioning, and what this board is doing, and what this board has preconceived ideas about, I would look a little more closely at the information you're drawing from the tape or whatever you choose. And this is the board that decided to move ahead and give the neighbors an opportunity for a public hearing, and move ahead and call this a major modification. And thank you for coming.
Bob, I don't know if you want to comment in the most summary way about the number of times you've been there, when you were there most recently, and whether or not the various infractions that you discovered have been pursued and acted upon.
I can follow up on the recent actions of the health department. In the board's packet, there is a letter that went back to Greenseal Environmental regarding their response to our letter of November 20th.
What's the date of that letter that you wrote?
Well, date is the 12th, and actually that did go out not on the 12th, but it did go out on the 18th. There was changes that were made, so I want to make clear that did not go out on the 12th, it went out on the 18th. In that, we address items, Ms. Toohill brought up the issue of the findings of material fact, and in fact, almost word for what you said is in our letter, that this is a finding of material fact and is a basis in which the Board of Health granted the site assignment, and that processing should occur daily. Certainly you're free to see those. We did respond back to Greenseal Environmental's letter to the Board of Health. We've also, since that letter of November 20th, or since the Board of Health's last meeting, we did receive a complaint on December 6th, the day of the Board of Health meeting, regarding vehicles entering the site prior to 8 o'clock. The site assignment conditions require that no processing, offloading, or unloading of material occur prior to 8 o'clock. We did go out on, I gotta say it was December 10th. We did go out and investigate that, and in fact, we did find that there were vehicles entering the facility for discharge at about 20 minutes of 8. We took action. We wrote a letter to Daniels Recycling. We did a follow-up inspection on that. It happened to be this morning, at which time, and all of our inspections are unannounced and unanticipated. And at that time, we saw that vehicles were being turned away that were coming in early, so they are complying with that provision. We also observed that the doors are shut 3 times in the past week, which was one of the conditions, that the doors to the facility on the, I'm going to call it the northern wall, the wall near Godiah Hill Road, have been shut. We also received a complaint about stormwater runoff creating a problem on neighboring properties and on Raber Road. The health department followed up on that this morning to take a look at a site. We've not responded in writing. I would have to confer with the highway department to find out, and the site plan review committee to find out the best way to address that. There was considerable runoff coming from the property onto a neighboring property and flowing across Raber Road. So we'll follow up on that. So I do believe that all of the complaints we received, we followed up on. The only thing that we have not done is we did receive a complaint about vehicles greater than 28 feet in length entering and exiting the facility. We did see the photographs of that. What is unclear, and we're hoping to observe this when we have not observed it in our times looking at the facility, Daniels is allowed to use larger trucks for out of that site as long as it is not associated with the C&D processing facility and the operation on site. So it's difficult on that complaint to say what that truck was. We've not observed trucks, and we've been by the facility a few times since that complaint came in. Until we can observe those and document whether that is processed material or not, I feel reluctant to cite the operator as a violation of the site assignments. I want to point out we did write to them on that same condition on a presentation that they made to the Board of Selectmen probably 2 months ago, clarifying, because a statement was made by the operators that currently they have vehicles or trailers which are, I'm going to say 35 feet in length, going in and out of the facility. In fact, some trailers as large as 40 feet, which is what they would be moving up to. And we wrote back probably late October, early November regarding that, and received clarification that the vehicles that are going in and out are not part of the C&D facility processing. They are trailers that are going out to various jobs, to landfills, et cetera, and they're being transported to different sites. They're not coming back full to the Daniels site. So that is the only complaint that we've received that we have not been able to formally address, but we haven't documented it. So I don't feel that it's prudent to address that unless the health department documents it, especially given the fact that larger vehicles can be on the site. So I think we've certainly followed up on each complaint and, when necessary, taken additional clarification action and done follow-up inspections.
I hope, Mr. Toohill, this answers at least the issues that you raised, that this department, the health department, supported by the Board of Health, does pursue the issues and the complaints that are received. Maybe not immediately, but I think conscientiously. And I really feel that that Mr. Canning's department has done a very good job following up the various issues that have come in rather large numbers very recently, as you know. Are there any other members of the board who would like to comment to some of these issues that were raised before we start running out of time a little?
I know, as a member of the Board of Health, that Bob has been very conscientious, not only on this particular issue, but on all issues, that when there have been complaints that have come in, he has followed up and he has been very, very diligent about it. And you know, I've been privy to the correspondence that goes out of his office on these issues.
We do our job as best we can, and we try to be nice about it. And I really don't apologize for that. Now, we have a long agenda. Mr. Mayor, do you want to make...
About 2 minutes, that's all.
Please take the podium and, yeah, do so. I mean, we're not going to cut it short, but we like to cut it short.
Feel free to take
I'd like to say something, just briefly,
Okay.
many of my concerns.
We'll give you time, we will.
Ken Mayo, Finley Road. As I explained to the town administrator and one of the Board of Selectmen, that it wasn't my style to go to the Selectmen and complain about the Board of Health. But my phone rang more after the Board of Health meeting than it rang before I started working on Daniels' operation. A lot of people ask me why I'm bitter about Daniels' operation. I'll tell you why I'm bitter. Because, first of all, I spent 2 days up in, prior to this thing going through, looking in for the town's best interest, and I just felt it was just, I was taken off the project in the fire department and just told to go keep my mouth shut and say nothing. In August of this year, unfortunately, the last straw as far as I was concerned. Trucks go up Finley Road, haphazardly, with their loads on, and, I don't mind the 2x4s, I don't mind the shingles, I don't mind the other debris that comes out of the back of the trucks. But one guy dropped a whole bunch of window frames across from 81 Finley Road. And you know, he picked up the window frames, but he couldn't pick up the glass. And that really irritated me. And, you know, I mentioned to somebody at Daniel's facility about it and just, you know, told me to go fly a kite. So what I've tried to do since I looked into Paul Daniels' operation, since the MIPA site, is try to come up with the facts here. And I've said this to the selectmen, I've chased down a lot of things that aren't true. And I found a lot of things that were true. For instance, yesterday, when we had the MIPA site review, we talked about the drainage problem, and everybody said there was no drainage problem. Well, today you can take a ride down the back of Raber Road across from Ultimate Fruit, and you can make your own impression. It's there. Do I have a picture of it? Yes, I do. Did I give a complaint to Mr. Canning? Yes, I did. But I did it because I feel pictures have to show you what the problems are. Now, before I go any further, I just want to say that I hope the board today will continue to send a letter to the Cape Cod Commission for a major modification. I look forward to working with you as a board. I'm upset at you, Mr. Chairman, and Mrs. McCusick, but quite frankly, I accepted your apology. I'm more upset. I was upset more with Mrs. McCusick because I felt that she had it was the appropriate business in the appropriate place. And I don't disrespect her from feeling that way towards Paul Daniels' business. I feel more that I felt that I wasn't going to get a fair shake in a hearing here, and that's what I'm looking for. Is just a fair shake to present the facts as I see them and the information, and that's all I really want. You know, I have a meeting with the Cape Cod Commission next week. To discuss with Greg Smith what my problems are with the Daniels operation. So far, I found 11 conditions which I feel he hasn't totally lived up to in the conditions and the findings of you, the board. And quite frankly, I'll be honest with you, looking at the conditions and findings, I think it was a fabulous job putting it together. It was a fabulous packet. What could I change in it? I don't know. But 11 conditions aren't being adhered to, and I've got 9 other problems. And I've got the pictures, I've got the documentation, and so I want to sit down with him and tell him about it. Now, my question to you, the board, is do you want to have an informal session and go through some of these things and talk about them? Or do you know, I know you don't want to do it today, but, you know, as Mr. Werson did last week, you know, he presented some information to you, and I'd like to do the same thing on a informal basis and just say what our problems are. And I've talked to Bob about everything, one way or another. And we were on basically on the same track. There's only one item we're not on the same track about, and that's the vermin. And the reason we're not on the same track is because one morning I chased a noise complaint at 5:45 in the morning, and the noise wasn't Paul Daniels. It was a trash hauler being banged down on the ground up on the corner of Finley Road and Kettle Pond. But I took a ride by Mr. Daniels, and what was scampering through the parking lot wasn't a mouse, it wasn't a cat, it wasn't a dog, so you can leave that to your own imagination. So my camera will get it sooner or later, I just got to get the picture of it. So I'm not trying to be the policeman of the neighborhood, and I spoke to Chief Roy yesterday about the truck that came down Finley. He had a busy day yesterday at Daniels', I'll tell you right now. There was more people going there yesterday than I've ever seen in a long, long time. But the trailers were not covered. They were putting stuff out on Finley Road. I got the pictures. If you want to see them, I can prove it to you. But I would like an informal session, you know, to get us back on a one-to-one and see if you understand that there really are some problems in the neighborhood, and it's not just, you know, looks like nothing has ever been said before. There are some problems.
Well, thank you. We'll discuss that at a later time, and thank you for the offer. May be very useful to us. Ma'am, you said you wanted a few comments?
Yes.
Do again identify yourself if you
Yes,
would.
I would. My name is Helen Placenik, and I live at 49 Chickadee Lane in East Orleans. I'd like to compliment you on this building. It's the first time I've been in it. It's really quite beautiful, and happy to be a part of the town of Orleans. I come here as a private citizen today to share some of my concerns, and I won't go into a lot of what I was going to say because some of them have been addressed. And Dr. Schneider, I appreciate that you're a big enough person that you would apologize for some of the comments
It's a dumb
that
thing to have said.
I did take exception to, and I've been known to say things sometimes too that aren't too bright or off the cuff. But I don't come here to attack anybody or to but I do come here as a private citizen feeling, in a way, watching proceedings, both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Health. And now I'm glad that the Board of Health has mailed the letter, because there seemed to be so much confusion over who should, was somebody going to, et
Not
cetera,
been
et
mailed
cetera, et
yet.
cetera, to the Cape Cod Commission. So I'm glad that that's done. And I do feel that a hearing will be done, and I'm happy to hear about that. Part of the feeling that I got in watching some of the televised proceedings, it's kind of an us versus them. This is my feeling, okay? And I am caught in the middle as a private citizen who wants protection for my family, my health, my well-being. And Dr. Snyder, you said that that's your charge as an elected official. Mr. Sims McGrath, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the members. I believe you also stated that. And I kind of feel I'm coming representing the rest of us in Orleans, the rest of the people who want our health and safety taken care of. And that's what this board is charged to do, looking at projects that come into this town. Just quickly, I would like to say, and I'm going to skip over a lot of things because a lot of things have been addressed, and I don't want to be redundant, and I'm not looking for airtime. I'm not looking for any kind of a job. I'm not interested really in politics, not interested in serving on any of the boards, not that I don't volunteer for things, but that's not my mission in coming today. But I would like to say that I don't live in the referred to residential area, and I know that that is a big concern for people. However, I do consider that I live in the neighborhood of Orleans, because I consider all of Orleans to be one neighborhood, be it East Orleans, Orleans, or South Orleans. In a town so small, no one is far removed from anything that happens here. We are all connected, and what happens in one area impacts on other areas. In fact, I think a perfect example of this concept is the proposed wastewater plant. Orleans, I think, is the regional commercial center of the Lower Cape, but do we really have to be the regional waste center? Just because a lot of garbage goes by Orleans, does that mean that it has to come into Orleans? Recycling is the law of the land, but does that law mean that Orleans is responsible for processing all of the recycling for the region? Recycling at the town transfer station is one thing, but private contractors trucking large quantities of trash to be recycled in Orleans and then grinding it up in Orleans at a greatly expanded private facility, I think is quite another thing. One other thing I'd like to say is retirees are a large part of the community and the economy in New Orleans. I'm one. I think many of us here are. And I think it's a dream come true. I don't believe we come here looking for utopia, as Mr. Daniels stated at the last Board of Health meeting. But we do come here because many of us were tourists here first. We were captivated by the unique small-town quality of Orleans, the Norman Rockwell, as someone had mentioned at one of the other meetings, look and feel, and of course for Nauset Beach, Skakit Beach, the lakes, and the ponds. And I'm almost finished. Many Orleans retirees volunteer and contribute to many organizations, and I believe their time, money, and effort is appreciated by these organizations, like yourselves. I mean, you give, I commend you. You give a lot of time, all the boards do. Many Orleans retirees spend a lot of money in Orleans, and I believe that most Orleans merchants and business people recognize and appreciate this fact. While we are not always perfect, us as coming here to live retirees, we try to pay back, and we want to preserve the beautiful place we now call home. Several months ago, I received this brochure from a local Orleans realtor. It lists 29 Orleans property sales. The sale price ranges from $250,000 to $1,860,000. Of the 29 properties, 24 were over $500,000. 7 of those 24 were over $1 million. Boggles the mind. Now, included in this update was a commentary on questioning whether the wind turbines proposed at that time for the Orleans watershed might affect property values in Orleans. And I quote this little news blurb: "With our abundance of high-end properties in Orleans, it is an unanswered question at this point as to whether or not values will be affected. It is our opinion, based upon knowledge and lengthy experience in the Cape Cod Orleans real estate market, that the majority of prospective home buyers ultimately will continue to seek out our prized properties for their location and other highly desirable amenities." I ask the question, if this question is being asked as to the potential devaluation of all Orleans real estate values regarding 2 green, clean wind turbines, might not the same question be asked of this proposed expansion? Thank you for your time.
Mr. Lieutenant, thank you very much.
Chairman, I forgot to say, I thank you very much for your apology, and I accept it, and
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I hope we can move on.
Well, that's very gracious of you. As I say, we should not make this an individual thing. I'm sure I speak for the entire board. All of us volunteer our time. We do this because we believe in the town. I think the nice things that we just heard about Orleans, every one of us passionately believes. We want to maintain the quality of the water, we want to maintain the ecology in which we live, as well as the health, which is our primary charge. We do our best. Sometimes we say the wrong things, as I did last time, but it wasn't malicious in any way. It was just kind of a silly thing to have said. Any of my colleagues want to say anything before we move on, because we really must move on? No. Bob, anything else we should deal with before we move?
Get
Well, thank you very much for bringing all this.
Get
to our
Robin
attention.
back in here.
Yes, one of our members does recuse herself whenever any issue to do with the Daniels facility comes up, since her husband owns some abutting land. She's missed some rather interesting discussion, actually. I'm sorry she wasn't here. Thank you very much. You're not going to say anything? Didn't recognize you. Oh, I better wait for Robin. Oh, I don't know where she hides.
It's Ryder and Wilcox anyhow.
Yes.
Come on up.
Actually, it's a continuation, another continuation of 2 weeks ago.
It's actually a
New plant.
technically a new
Plant.
file, but the same property.
Yeah.
Can I-
Why don't
can
you
I
grab
say-
We can
Yeah.
grab a chair. I should do it if I was a
Yeah.
gentleman, but it's kind of difficult
Yeah,
to
we
run around.
had a lot of use for that table this morning.
Good, I like to spread out.
Hang on a second, a little bit.
Problem is, all
Let
they
me
could
go
do is see
look
the
for-
back of your head. Bob went to
Oh,
get it,
did he?
yeah.
Okay, good.
And this is televised?
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, yeah.
See?
Don't make any funny comment about it.
Hey, I'm not gonna change who I am.
Nothing is funny.
No. Ever again.
I think Mr. Canning may have a certain amount of difficulty finding the elusive doctor.
She went out to her car.
Oh, did you?
Did you check her car, Bob?
Check. Oh, you have it. Okay, good.
I'll have to give her a beeper. Cell phone, call her back in.
George keeps saying he's going to put a bell on me.
You get the town to confiscate that property and we won't have the issue anymore.
Don't get about that.
Welcome back, Dr. Gallagher, Ms. Davis. The next issue on our agenda is a variance request from 211 Main Street, which is the Main Street Deli, as I recall.
Yes, Stephanie Sequin representing Ron and Rima Smith, who are the owners of this one building at 211 Main Street. It is one of 2 buildings on the property. They are condominium. The building that we're talking about is referred to as Unit 1. It's the, on the first floor, the East Orleans Deli and a travel agency, and then on the second floor, there's a 2-bedroom apartment. The building is being sold. The existing septic system was inspected as part of the real estate transfer inspection regulations. There's presently a 2,000-gallon septic tank, a distribution box, and 2 leaching pits. During the inspection, one of the leaching pits was full, so it was decided to upgrade the existing system to allow the sale. What we're showing here is the existing 2,000-gallon septic tank to remain. There will be a new 1,000-gallon grease trap provided. The plumbing from the kitchen facilities in the deli will be replumbed and connected into the grease trap for discharge prior to connection to the existing septic tank. And then a new leaching system out under within the gravel parking area. We did test holes there and the soil conditions are fine. But because of the existing depth of the septic tank, the piping going into the existing septic tank, by the time we get gravity flow through the new piping, the proposed leaching system is approximately 4 feet below existing grade. So we're requesting a variance under local upgrade approval to allow the leaching system to be an extra 4 feet, an extra foot above what is allowed. The system will be 4 feet below grade where a maximum of 3 feet is allowed. And we're also requesting a variance to allow the existing system to remain approximately 6 feet from the foundation.
Those numbers were different from your letter.
Yeah, your letter says
Yeah.
2 feet.
Yeah, you wanted a 2-foot variance for the proposed soil
Oh.
absorption system.
Well, is
Your
it,
letter of December 10th.
it says it's 4 foot down, is it meant to be 3 feet or 2 feet? Well,
I'm sorry, well, let me just double check.
Look at,
I mean, if it's meant to be 2 feet, then we need a 2-foot variance. What is the depth allowed?
I read the letter as saying that it's going to be 4 feet down, which would be a 1-foot variance, but
Okay.
I think if Stephanie could check that,
But
it's
just
important we
depends
get
what
it
the law
correct.
allows. If it says,
The law allows it to be no greater than 3 feet down.
Okay, then
The
we just
question
need a
is
1-foot
it
variance.
Well,
is
the
it 5
point is,
feet down or?
Jan, if we
Yeah.
give her 1 foot and they get there and it's 2 feet,
Yeah.
you just,
6.
we could,
we say
could
up to 2 feet.
I was
up
gonna
to
say
2
up to
feet.
2.
Okay.
Up to 2 feet, we'll say that. Yeah.
The system's going to be vented. The purpose for having the maximum 3 feet of cover over the system is to keep the system in the more aerated layers of the soil as compensation for that, or as mitigation for that. It is going to be vented. When you think about it, this is under a gravel parking lot anyway, so I'm not sure how much aeration is occurring in that upper 3 feet anyway.
These are gonna
Um,
be rated, so they'll take the weight for the parking lot.
Yes, yep, they're all heavy duty.
Ms. Canning, we'd like to comment on it from your standpoint, please.
I did have an opportunity to speak to Stephanie regarding this. I do have a concern on the design data being used for the deli. It has been listed on the plans as 1,800 square feet at 50 gallons per 1,000 square feet. That is the design data for a retail store. I believe what they have there is a greater flow than a retail store. We did discuss the state requirement of 97 gallons per day for a grocery store or a supermarket, which would seem more in line with what the use of the East Orleans Deli is. And I don't know Stephanie's
I-
view on that.
Yeah, I can go over those figures, and I had actually kind of had that other flow rate in mind when I sized the system. If you, and at the prior meeting, there was some talk about when the new owner comes in, is the travel agency, is the office use going to remain an office use, or could it become part of the deli use? In the event that happened, even if I take the entire roughly 2,700 square feet of commercial space on the first floor and use the 97 gallons per day per 1,000 square feet, which is a higher rate for a grocery store, that comes out to 260 gallons per day for the entire first floor. And if I add the 220 gallons per day for the apartment, that comes out to a design flow of 480 gallons per day, which is still less than the 485 gallon per day capacity that I have designed for the system. I had also looked at water meter readings. For this building, there are just two services. One is for the apartment on the second floor. The other one, there's just one service for the deli and the office. If I take the highest and, oh, Bob, I can give you a copy of
Thank you.
that. If I take the highest reading over a 6-month period for the first floor, the usage was 23 gallons, which works out, divided by 100, roughly 180 days, 128 gallons per day. Title V requires that you double that to estimate variations in use and flow. That comes out to 256 gallons per day. That's for the combined office and deli. If I take out the flow that I've attributed to the office, that leaves 190 gallons per day for the deli, which is pretty close to, if I figure it as a grocery store, it comes out to very close to what Title V would estimate for that square footage. So I think the water usage is not out of line with what we're estimating here.
I think that's very fair.
You're happy with those numbers?
Yep.
Let me ask each of the members of the board for comment. Robin, I'll start with you.
This is the same one where the grease trap.
Right.
Yep.
And that's,
And we're going ahead and installing a grease trap.
Oh, is that a new grease trap or using the old septic tank?
No, I'm putting in a new grease
Okay.
trap, but using the old septic tank. When I looked at the, it hadn't occurred to me, this is a 2,000-gallon tank, and it just seemed silly to convert that into a grease trap. It made more sense to leave that as the septic tank and put in a separate 1,000-gallon
Yeah,
grease
it
trap.
appears linear here, but when you look at the schematic here, it, goes to the grease trap and then back. So this is linear just for demonstration purposes.
You could follow that on the plan.
Oh, I've got
It's kind of
that.
a maze of pipes.
I know, it is. Yeah, I said.
Do
okay,
you
this
want
is-
to comment,
Yes,
questions?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was some discussion at the last meeting about renovating the space and making everything on the first floor contiguous, and then it could be, quote, anything. And the square footage of the entire first floor, if you used the 97 gallons, do you have your little calculator with you? What would that be, and could,
If I take the entire first floor, which is
Pretend it's all-
2,680 square feet, at 97 gallons per day per 1,000 square feet, is 260
it's
gallons per
260.
day.
260, and then you add the 220, and that's where you
220.
come up with the 480.
Right.
Okay, that's my only question.
The 220s for what?
The
For the
apartment
apartment,
upstairs.
okay, 220 for,
No, that's my question.
Any change of use for any of these units would have to, they'd need there would have to be an evaluation
yeah,
done
yeah.
before
Well,
the
the idea
health
was to
agent
make,
would sign off.
Well, there's not much more in a definition that's gonna, that's gonna be used for, they get you above 97. It's certainly not, you're not asking to be a dentist or a doctor's office, which would be big.
Right, if they
Yeah,
change to
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But as long as it remains an office or pure retail or grocery store, I guess, we're covered.
Yep.
Ms. Christie.
no, my question was going to be about the grease trap and using the tank, but you've answered that.
Ms. McGrath?
It appears that this is at a substantial elevation. There's no issues with depth of the groundwater. I have no problem with the variance application. Variance.
Somebody like to make a motion on the two variances that we have being asked?
John, prior to a
Bob,
motion being
yes.
made, if the person who makes a motion could include that the plan be changed to reflect the new design flow, I think that would be very helpful.
You know, I didn't ask, are there any abutters present? I didn't ask, okay, hearing none, that's good. I missed that. Gussie, yes.
Yes, I'm moving the matter of 211 Main Street, Unit 1, that the Board of Health grant the following variances. First variance, local upgrade approval. The variance is for 2 feet to the, cover the soil absorption system, or up to 2 feet. It will be placed too deeply for that. And the existing septic tank, which is located 6 feet from the foundation, and will continue to be used, we will ask for a 4-foot variance from location to the foundation of the cellar wall. Findings are that this is a limited lot, that the gallons of possible generated wastewater of this facility includes a two-bedroom apartment and a calculation that 97 gallons per thousand square feet if the entire ground floor would be gutted. Conditions would be that a plan be delivered to the health office reflecting the new design flow criteria.
I'll second that. Is there any further discussion?
I'll second that.
If we could also note in the findings that it is on a slab.
The property,
Yes, it is.
findings, the property is on a slab,
We'll include that with the second rule.
which
If you second the rule.
mitigates where you can put things.
Yeah.
No, it's just so it's not an issue that
Yeah.
it's close to the foundation.
Yeah, no, that's true. yeah.
Any further discussion? We have heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500 to approve. Sequin, thank you again.
She's got a twofer here.
Is Namaquoit Road next?
Yes.
Yep. 153 Namaquoit Road.
Want to share?
Noise that makes the
We've
microphone.
got so much
Uh-huh.
paper.
Sorry,
Picks up the-
sorry,
Paper
Sarah.
noises I've been listening to television recently, including to us.
Another reason
That's
to have
fun.
to be on television, you can't ride the papers.
There's not an honest television camera in the world.
Stephanie Sequin again representing Michael and Catherine Giblin, who are the owners of the existing building at 152 Namaquoit Road. There's a three-bedroom house. They are putting the house on the market, and there's a converted cesspool system, so that obviously has to be upgraded in order to sell the property. The pipe coming out of the building now into the cesspool goes out underneath the basement slab, and again, by holding that initial elevation of the pipe at the building and having just the minimal pitch to get gravity flow through the system, we end up with the proposed distribution box approximately 4 feet below finished grade, so we're looking for a 1-foot variance on the depth of cover over the distribution box. And the soil absorption system is about 4.3 feet below finished grade, so we're looking for a 1.3-foot variance on the depth of cover there. We have specified that the system be vented to aid in the aeration of the system. Obviously, we could put a pump chamber in here. We're just trying to avoid the expense and nuisance of having to have a pump chamber or pump system. And I guess we could regrade and lower the final grade, but then we'd end up with a low spot in this area. Right now, the ground is such that it does drain off property. If we were to lower the grade, the foot or so that we needed, we'd end up with a low spot right at the system, which is not an ideal situation. Thank you.
Ken,
I have no comments or concerns.
well, I'll ask the members.
Mr. Chairman, if I may direct a question to the health agent. Bob, in circumstances like this, when this construction is done, are they automatically requested to put to raise the lid?
Our regulations require a riser be brought to within 6 inches of grade in all cases.
Chimney.
Chimney, right.
Good, right, okay.
Thank you.
Susan?
That's routinely. Now, is just to get myself acclimated, because I'm, in terms of terrain, you have Viking Road, and is the Cavallo House the one that's right next door, and that's the one with the deck on the side?
That's it.
Gibbon.
I don't know Cavallo.
Oh, the Cavallo, that's down here, that's over here, a little further.
A little farther.
Where the turnaround is.
You're right, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
That's over there.
Do you-
This is the one, that used to be
Okay,
the harbor
right.
master's house years ago, yeah.
So
This is
this
the
is-
Oh,
Cavallo.
okay, I know, okay, I was talking about this one.
Yeah.
And the
Must be
thing.
the one to the left.
Yeah, right, okay. Because I was confused as to hollow. Of course, the thing is that if you did have a hollow, it would run in that direction because of the land sloping that way, so that makes sense. Thank you.
No questions?
No question? Robin?
No.
Are there any abutters present? I do not see any. Anybody willing to make a motion on this issue or relapse in the depth?
Can do that. In the matter of 152 Namequake Road. The findings on this is that the slab is higher than, the pipes would need to be brought out underneath the slab, is that correct?
They go out underneath the slab
They
already.
presently do, they already do. And so it means that the proposed distribution box would be 4 feet below the finished grade where a 3-foot maximum is allowed. And so a 1-foot variance is requested. A proposed soil absorption system should be 4 foot 3 below finished grade where a 3-foot maximum is allowed. Consequently, there would be a difference of 1.3 feet, which would require a variance. The board approves these 2 variances, and also the fact that it will be a vented system, which would preclude them having to put in a pump chamber, and that there would be a chimney installed to bring it up to 6 inches below grade on the ports that need to be inspected. Did I forget anything?
Second.
Any further discussion? Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You want these?
Sure.
You want the other one too? I don't
I've
think I
scribbled,
scribbled.
yeah, I scribbled all over mine, so.
Yeah, I scribbled on mine too.
That's all right.
They didn't scribble.
Who
I
said
just-
there isn't
pretty
a
nice
Santa
writing.
Claus this year?
A pretty red and green label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Building a tile.
Thank you, Stephanie. Have a good Christmas. Thank you for visiting.
Saving her. Yeah, have a good one, Steph.
Our next item,
Same paper
number
clips.
4 on the agenda is 3 Beach Plum Lane. Do identify yourself if you would.
Will do. I'm Bob Gendron. I'm agent representative for the owners of 3 Beach Palm Lane, Craig and Barbara Strover. I'm here with you today basically because Craig and Barbara purchased this house within the last month, and they were looking to add an addition onto an existing foundation where their bulkhead is. From my research in 1988, well, first of all, their Title V obviously passed certificate when they purchased the house last month. However, when their system was installed in 1988, I believe they never had a variance. You know, they never went in front of the board for a variance for a hardship reason. Apparently, the old owner was having to pump out a system every 12 days because it was just overflowing. So they put the system in basically, and what we were looking to do is to use that full 8-foot wall as part of an addition. So I'm requesting a variance from the distribution box of 10 feet to, the plans for the as-built say it's 7 feet, but the actual engineered plans say 6, so I guess I would request the 4-foot variance to be safe. And that's,
Or in 1988, did they need to have a variance from a slab, you know?
it's not a slab.
Well, this would
sorry.
be,
Oh, I thought it was a slab.
Sorry, no, it's actually a full foundation.
Okay, now, all right, I withdraw that. Bob, any comments from you?
the, back in 1988, this was accepted without a variance. Just questioning whether typically what we do if it's a precast stairway or bulkhead, we don't require the 10-foot setback. I can't recall in '88 if we required that on the board in place, foundation type of a bulkhead. The proposal is to extend the foundation starting in this area, utilizing this as part of the foundation. I felt it raised to the level of having to be formalized as a variance with the Board of Health. The proposal otherwise is not increasing a flow to the septic system. The tank is in place. We do not have any records of any leaks or any other structural issues with the tank.
May I ask board members, Robin,
I
a
don't have
question?
any questions.
Yossi?
Yes, how many bedrooms in this home?
Currently, there's 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and that is not changing, so.
And I'm trying to understand what you're proposing. You're proposing to come out on this
Yeah, let me
and
show
build
you.
a wall, how?
Basically, this is the existing bulkhead
Yeah,
right here.
yeah, I know that.
And then the wall is gonna come straight across.
Just the line right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
see.
so how many square feet are you gonna be adding?
It is a 6 by 15, so it's 90 square
Okay,
feet.
you could be going over top of this stairwell too, or no? You
Um,
take, this is 6 by 15?
No, with, using the existing.
So it's, so the new addition is gonna be this wall
Correct,
and this
yes.
wall? And you're saying this space in here is gonna be new floor space?
Correct,
That's 6 by 15?
correct.
And I don't have my mental calculator, how many square feet is
That's
that?
90.
90 square feet, and that space is gonna be used for what?
It's gonna be part of the kitchen.
Okay, but, okay,
Kitchen expansion.
yeah.
Could you hold your sketch up?
Yeah, right,
Yeah, yeah, they're coming down here, gonna be a wall down here, yeah,
Okay, so it,
90 square feet. So there's
Mike,
gonna be a wall here
okay, yeah, right.
and a wall here.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm confused as to why the bulkhead becomes an issue. I guess because of its proximity to,
Because it's being converted to living space.
I know bulkheads were used to get in and out of your basement when you had something big and you wanna drag it down your kitchen stairs or whatever. Is this gonna preclude removing anything like oil tanks and all that kind of stuff that gets?
No, it's an electric
I had a
heat.
friend that honestly built
Yeah.
an airplane in his basement, and then well,
Take it out in parts.
and he had to take it out in pieces.
No, that was
So, I
actually,
mean, like-
that was actually one of my concerns because obviously,
The giraffe is gonna have a hard time getting
well,
in.
yes, and their front door was only 32 inches. And so I immediately, we decided to move that to a 36, but they have electric heat,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but they do not have an oil tank,
Yeah.
and they are aware of that situation.
Mhm.
I didn't know whether there were any sort of egress issues in building
No,
codes.
it's basement space, it's not
Yeah.
habitable space.
That's right. That's right, it's not a bedroom. No, that was my only question. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Ms. Christie?
no,
Mr. McGrath?
I have a picture.
Anybody willing to make a motion on the issue of 3 Beach Plum Road?
I'll be glad to.
Please
In the
do.
matter of 3 Beach Plum Lane, the findings are that this is a lot that is 17,360 feet square. It currently holds a 3-bedroom home. It was constructed with a exterior bulkhead slash stairwell that is of precast cement. There will be no increased flow. The proposal is to bump out a wall to create 90 more square feet of kitchen space. I move that we grant a 4-foot variance for the distance from the precast cement bulkhead to the D-box. 6 is provided, and you need 10.
Second.
I didn't ask, are there any abutters present, by the way? Didn't ask again. Okay. Bob?
Just, I want, maybe I misled the board, this is not a precast bulkhead, this is a foundation wall, it's a board in place.
Strike all my reference to precast bulkheads. I misspoke, and I'm sorry.
Does not change the motion
Doesn't change my,
fundamentally.
the non-precast cement wall.
Any other
I
discussion?
will still second it.
Thank you, Tim.
If it is non-precast, it's post-cast.
It's post-cast.
What did they say, aye, please?
Cost. Aye.
500.
Thank you, everyone.
Give them a bigger kitchen.
Yeah.
The next item, once again, is the definitive subdivision plan for 48 Ortonibika Road. Welcome back.
Yes, hi.
Do identify yourself, if you would, for the record.
Mr. Chairman? Phil, we've been through this before. Do I
Yes.
have to do my whole spiel on the?
You don't. You-
No.
Please stay.
Thank you.
You know, why don't you do the whole spiel? There's people watching every motion of this board.
Oh, he's scrutinizing.
No, I'm serious.
As a member of the
I
planning
too.
board, I have seen the preliminary subdivision application. I did vote in favor of it, but town council advises me, because I sit on 2 regulatory boards, I should give the applicant the opportunity to express concerns about my ability to sit in and review this impartially. Should the applicant wish, I'd be glad to recuse myself.
Yes, thank you. Please stay.
I appreciate your confidence, sir.
Mr.
Thank you.
Shalomidi.
Yes, Phil Shalomidi with Ryder and Wilcox. I'm here today with the definitive subdivision prepared for Eastwood Homes.
Share?
Yeah,
The
Get that back to
the
Phil.
plan follows a preliminary that's been before this board. But just to review, the property is situated on the north side of Port Nimicket Road. It's zoned residential. It's in Groundwater Protection District 3. The division creates 4 lots.
What was your concern? Your
Each of the
concern about
lots
lot
has
one?
adequate frontage along the proposed right-of-way, which is 33 feet wide. Lots 1 and 2 have in excess of the required 50 feet of minimum arc frontage in the cul-de-sac. Lots 3 and 4 have in excess of the minimum 150 feet of frontage along the tangent or the straightaway. All 4 lots have in excess of the minimum 40,000 square feet of buildable upland, and all lots meet the shape factor as is required by zoning. The existing dwelling that's shown on Lot 2 is planned to be removed. There's a note on the plan that states that. The existing water service that services that house shall be cut and capped. The new division calls for a new water main, and along with that will go along 2 fire hydrants. 1 fire hydrant will be placed at the intersection of Port Nimicket Road and the proposed way, and the second will be at the end of the cul-de-sac. To access the lots, we propose a 14-foot wide roadway with 1.5 berms on either side. It's approximately 600 feet in length. We propose a paved roadway because we feel that the paved roadway better suits the slope of the proposed roadway. There's a 16-foot vertical difference from Port Nimicket Road to the cul-de-sac. So it's a good slope. I think a paved surface will work better. The road runoff will be disposed of via 2 subsurface drainage systems. A hood will be provided on the outlet end of the catch basins to provide for the separation and containment of hydrocarbons. At the preliminary meeting, in answer to your concerns about leaching, we propose that a maintenance agreement be made part of this approval to ensure that the subsurface drainage system will continue to be maintained over time.
That was a question.
All lots will be served by town water. We have included a note directly on the plan, the finished plan stating such. At the Board of Health at the preliminary meeting was also concerned about the amount of cultivation on the lots. You were also concerned about giving notice to the future owners as to that limited cultivation. We've placed directly on the plan a note that describes that in District 3, there's a requirement that at least 30% of the lot area be retained in its natural state, and that no more than 40% of a lot shall be rendered impervious. So that's stated right on the plan.
That includes the footprint of the house.
That's correct, yes. We have also included directly on the plan a note that states that no variances will be granted by the Board of Health, one of your requests at the preliminary. In addition to the conditions that we've incorporated into the plan directly as on the plan note, we will recommend to the Planning Board that these same notes be included in the covenant and statement of conditions that accompany the subdivision plan to give further notice to the people buying lots that there are conditions associated with the purchase. Just to conclude, the division as shown meets all Town of Orleans zoning subdivision rules and requirements. We are not seeking any waivers of any sort. I've tried to address the concerns that you had at the preliminary through the notes on the plan, and I think that with the conditions that we can impose with the Planning Board through the statement of conditions, that that I hope we will be covered as far as your concerns. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Bob, do you have any comments?
Uh,
I do have one question later.
It looks like he has addressed the issues the Board of Health brought up in their preliminary comments. Mr. Sholomidi discussed that the water line, water service will be cut and abandoned that is serving the existing dwelling, and we'll handle this through the permit process, but I just want to remind him that a permit will have to be pulled to abandon the septic system that serves the house as well. And that'll be done as part of the permit process. Otherwise, I have no questions. I think the comments of the preliminary plan have been included on the definitive plan.
No, not there.
So let me have one question about the lot. I don't quite understand the site plan. It shows the lot, and there's this kind of funny crescent between Heritage Drive and Port Innibicut Road, into which the new subdivision is wedged. I don't understand what this is.
Homes.
That's the abutting property.
And they're big enough, that's big enough for homes?
It-
Okay.
It's at a very small scale, so it does
My sister-in-law lives right there.
look sort of funny.
I'll take it back. I'll offend people again. Okay.
Yes, please.
I'll go through the members of the board once again. Sims?
With the drainage provided, I'm willing to skip the impervious or the pervious suggestion that had been made earlier and accept an impervious road surface. I think it'd be appropriate for the applicant to make sure that erosion, anti-erosion measures are put in place during the construction process to minimize the runoff onto Port Innibicut Road.
Just to add to that, part of this filing with the planning board includes a plan and profile which describes the construction of the roadway. We've included in that some notes as well that state that all sediment shall be controlled during road construction and all runoff shall be contained on site. And we go into detail as to how the side slopes should be dressed according to the subdivision rules and regulations. So we kind of reiterated that.
It is nice getting a thorough package.
Isn't it?
Thank you.
Susan?
Do you envision that this will be an association whereby that all of these notes and things that are in the deed will be also done in the association in terms of you know, first of all, the drainage, secondly, about the covenants, and also the vegetation, the limited vegetation, because one of the concerns that was voiced in your prior being here, and also has not been addressed now, was the slope of Lot 1, Lot 2, and Lot 3, and there's quite a serious drop in the back there.
Yes.
And particularly on Lot 1, there appears to be only really one site that could potentially be used as a building site. And I'm just wondering, is Eastwood Homes, I assume, will be hopefully building all of these lots? That's the reason that he is come before us with the subdivision plan. But is it envisioned that there would be an association that would reinforce the various requests or stipulations?
Yeah, Sue, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know what they have in mind as far as any organization. But the one thing, typically, the planning board will reference the plan and profile, which includes these notes that basically say that all runoff shall be contained on site. If it's not, then the abutters will have legal recourse.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have a similar question. Is this going to be a private road or a public road?
It will be private initially.
Yes, and I hope the town will take it.
Yeah, because I know when, well, around the corner in Heritage, they had some sort of a loose association that actually expired after 25 years. So when I look at yeah, there's gonna be a maintenance agreement,
Yeah, well, that's what-
for these, maintaining the
Yeah,
real
but
runoff.
who's gonna
but
maintain
like,
it? Who's
but
gonna
Who's
oversee
gonna
it?
maintain it?
As it's privately owned, it will be by the people that border the roadway, the
Okay,
inhabitants.
Well, that's
yeah,
what I
pardon me
guess
for-
I'm getting at, was what I was getting at.
Pardon
So
me,
they
for
are-
being, pardon me for being stupid, but someday there's gonna be a sign down here that's a house for sale, and my cousin from Omaha comes and buys lot 3, and how are they gonna know that a piece of their responsibility is this road, and a piece of their responsibility is to have a condition that these notes are?
Yeah.
I mean, where will that
Right.
be? Does that have to be a deed restriction on each property?
No, generally, it's handled through, again, the approval of the plan refers to these construction
Okay,
plans.
so my cousin
But
who
it-
just bought lot
but-
3 goes,
Yeah.
oh, Hugh, that drainage thing isn't on my lot, that's next door, so
Right,
that's
but-
gonna be his problem.
But in addition to that, we are requesting with the planning board that maintenance agreements be imposed on these lots,
On each of the
which is a
lots?
recorded document
A
in
deed.
Barnstable
Okay.
that basically requires maintenance to, the roads to be maintained to a standard, Orleans standard, and if they are not, the town has the right to go in and make the improvements and
then
assess
charge
the
and assess
owners,
it,
the
and
property
Well,
owners.
assess
I
the
guess
owners.
the only other comment I would make that I think you did a very good job at answering our concerns of the letter of November 14th. And as we, move forward and take action and refer this to the planning board to continue, my only remaining concern is there's some codified way of communicating the notes that are on this first page, and the notes that are on all 3 of these pages, so that future owners are aware of their responsibility. That's my
Unfortunately,
only-
I've seen in
Yeah.
real estate that is not always conveyed.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Robin, you had a question?
Yeah, I do, but
I just note that a maintenance agreement frequently required by the planning board attributes responsibility for the maintenance of the road. And frequently, planning board approvals also have a covenant or require surety to make sure that the road is constructed to the standards in the plans. And it's a routine part of the planning department's oversight of these projects.
But things
On a
like
private road as
these
well?
notes here, and the ground cover, and the vegetation, all that.
The
is-
pre-requirements, the prerequisites.
That's all part of it.
If it's on the plan and it's part of the filing, it is from it has a, correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, but I believe it has the same legal standing as the deed.
The deed will refer to the plan.
The deed refers to the plan, and the plan is the requirements on it.
And there will be mention of the covenants on the plan as well. Condition, or note number 4 says, see covenant and statement of conditions to be recorded with herewith. We would recommend to the planning board that they incorporate some of these notes that I put on the plan here within that statement of conditions. So there's,
I'm becoming more sensitized at our good intentions, and then X number of years downstream,
Sure.
something comes up that is suddenly our fault, that we were not monitoring it on surprise
Sure, yeah.
visits weekly.
well, as far as the maintenance, again, if this maintenance agreement is incorporated in the package, if the property owners are negligent in maintaining this road up to Orleans standards, then the town can come in, they can fix it and assess the owners. That's part of the agreement.
well, I have a question about when somebody comes to buy these properties. Sims, maybe you can tell me, how does the potential buyer become aware? Precisely, how do they become aware of these conditions that the planning board has set forth? Does the real estate agent even know about these conditions? How would they?
It should come to light when the title search is done. And anyone who purchases property should have adequate legal representation. The attorney should do a title search, and he'll go back through the title. He'll research the plan, and it should be these are encumbrances on the property.
Right.
And the lawyer should point out the encumbrances to a potential purchaser.
And that will happen before the closing?
Yeah, it would have to.
I
One would help.
I can't promise that it's performed in every circumstance, but it should happen.
And if somebody comes in and just puts in a lawn all over the property, and it would be required that somebody sue them apparently in order to
Yeah,
have any action taken, right?
yeah.
Okay, that was one question. The other question is the driveway. It seems to me that there's something between an actual paved road and an unpaved but hardened,
T-base?
less
Yeah.
pervious perhaps, but maybe better.
Yes, it's questionable theoretically. A T-base roadway can be a substitute. It depends on the quality of the T-base. It's not a regulated material, so we found that oftentimes it's of inferior quality. It's,
Well, there are reputable, perhaps expensive companies that do this.
that's true, but I think in this case where there's as much as a 6% slope.
Yeah, you've got a lot of
Yeah.
slope, really do.
And a surface that'll be, need to be cleared over the wintertime. I think maybe the more stable surface will.
I mean, the concern is it'll all wash downhill, right?
Yeah, right under
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fort and
As it's
Emicket.
plowed.
Or plowed downhill.
I just have another question. It says existing paved driveway to be removed. What is that?
Yes, currently there is an existing driveway that leads to the house that's shown on lot, what is that, 2 over there.
Yeah.
Lindsay's.
We will replace that with a new driveway, basically. It's even encroaching on the abutters, so we'll take care of that. encroachment.
Oh, that's
Are there
interesting.
any abutters present?
Mr. Chairman? On the question of the road surface, and engineers who have made presentations before the planning board and the highway superintendent has corroborated this, both the current one and the previous one. A lot of times if you put in a T-base road and compact it to the degree that it would be stable on slopes like this, it is fundamentally impervious anyway.
So you're not accomplishing
So,
anything.
so the,
You might be accomplishing something aesthetically.
and
Maintain.
the opportunity for it to deteriorate is significant, so the corresponding effort would be the drainage structures.
I'd be more inclined to be worried if there wasn't the slope. I mean, I would be less worried if there wasn't the
No,
slope.
erosion is a
Well,
concern.
the slope is the issue.
I'm in favor of gravel roadways when there is no slope as well.
Right.
I
For
agree.
this weather, when they get frozen and icy.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to walk down Aries Lane?
What do we need to do?
We need a motion to approve this finding. I think that's right, Bob, isn't it?
That's correct.
The finding at the point of approving the definitive subdivision plan for 48 Port Emicket Road.
I'll do that if
Do we actually approve, or do we just say that we accept it? I
We
mean,
would
that's-
approve,
we do that.
disapprove, or approve with comments.
I move the Board of Health go on record as approving the definitive subdivision plan and express pleasure that our concerns in November were answered in the final plans.
Do we need to comment about the paved driveway, the maintenance agreements, the water
Well, we've
changes?
been reassured that, and planning board then has to do that.
So we don't need.
We don't have to do the planning
We
board
don't have
job.
to comment on it,
No,
okay.
since Sim's left.
Mr. Chairman, before I second this, could I ask the mover to include the scale and date of the engineer?
Yes, and the plans I'm referring to are the plans,
December.
3 pages of plans dated 12/3/07, and the scale is 1 to 50.
It has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I'll formally second that.
Or, you seconded, you
He's
said yes.
seconding
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500.
You want these back?
If you have no use for them, sure.
Mine's got some pretty color on it when I had a question. Do you mind?
Okay.
Yeah.
Phil, I'd offer to keep mine for future reference, but I just, no, I won't be able to track them.
I'll give you more.
You'll lose in the backseat of the car.
Have a nice holiday.
Yeah, you
Okay,
too.
bye-bye.
Yeah.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Our next item is a request, a hearing request from 123 South Orleans Road. Ma'am, you must be Patricia White?
Yes.
Identify yourself as Patricia White.
My name is Patricia White. I reside at Unit 1, 123 South Orleans Road, also known as Pleasant Harbor Condominiums. I'm here on behalf of myself, Unit 1, Jeffrey Dreyer, Unit 5, and Barbara and Richard Riley, Unit 6. We are the last two units to still have cesspools, and we've been legislated out of existence. We have, the town has, of course, requested that we upgrade our cesspools to a Title V. And we have planned to put in one Title V for all three units. In response to the town's request, we engaged East Cape Engineering to draw up a plan for a new shared septic system. The plan has now been completed and submitted to the town and hopefully approved. Since it appears that the town will adopt some sort of centralized wastewater treatment solution within the next few years, we would like to apply for a time extension for constructing our septic system. Our reasoning is as follows. Construction of a septic system with an estimated 20-year lifespan that would be used for only 5 or 6 years would seem to present an undue financial hardship. At least one of us is in straits. One of us is in the building trades, and business is not good. Currently, our two cesspools are functioning. The engineering plan is in place so that if either of our cesspools should fail, a Title V system could be speedily constructed for all three units. We therefore petition the town to grant us an extension until A, either one or both of our cesspools fail, or B, until the town installs sewers or some other wastewater solution in our neighborhood, in which case there would be no need for a septic system.
Mr. Canning.
This property is under order. They have cesspools, which by definition failed. We do not have a listing of it being hydraulically failed. The systems are functioning, but our cesspools. The town has received a copy of the plan. It's not approved. We have not received an application for a permit for the plan. We did get a copy of the plan for this meeting. I think if the board does approve this, that they would approve it for a year, that we would then have a better idea of the proceedings of the wastewater management plan, and as always have a condition in there that if there is a failure or a collapse, hydraulic failure or a collapse of one of the systems, then the plan must immediately be put in motion.
Robin,
I
let me start
second
with you.
that.
I was wondering, there was a note about a water line. The inspection wasn't complete because the water line had not been located.
I don't believe that's on these units.
Yeah, that was what, no, it is on these, I believe. Are these
That was a
units
couple of
5
years
and
ago.
6? Units 5 and 6, is that right? It just said, water line locations for both units not documented on the report inspection considered.
What page, Robin?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But in that this
It's
is an
page
automatic.
3.
Page 3, yeah.
Sorry, in that this was an automatic failure, we wouldn't have asked action
Okay.
for them to follow through on
Would
it.
that be something, if we're gonna grant an extension, that we should have documented, or does it not matter?
I guess if the board is going to grant a long-term extension in condominiums, and this has over 5 units, they would have to be inspected every 3 years. The board may want to consider having them inspected on that 3-year cycle, not have them exempt from inspection because they are already deemed failed. It's something the board could consider. That way, we'll have an idea, if we go with a long-term extension, as to whether or not they're functioning hydraulically and possibly catch a hydraulic failure before sewage is on top of the ground. That action may be better suited if we go with a longer extension or a escrow in the future on this.
So are you saying that if we just do 1 year, that's okay, we don't have to concern ourselves?
That's correct, because we received the report and the systems are failed.
Mhm.
So the action the board would take would not be move the water line and expose the system.
Right.
The system has failed. If we get into a long-term agreement to postpone the installation of the system, then we probably do want some action to be taken so that we can observe the cesspools to find out if there is a failure prior to it certainly reaching the ground, or more importantly, reaching the elevation of the water line.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Is 1 year realistic, by the way?
I think 1 year is realistic to get an idea of
Yeah.
how the wastewater management plan will be going in town. And then I think the board can meet on a long-term agreement and have in place possibly steps for an escrow account. Because I think that's what this would qualify for.
That was it.
Kuzic?
Well, the good news is, we decided this, at our wastewater meeting this morning, that the plans are going to be sufficiently in place, so they will be available by spring as a draft plan. So by spring, we will know, be rolling forth with what the town is going to be taking. Now, it doesn't say when it's going to happen, but we will have a better idea of whether this is going to be part of the solution or not. And which is our first peek we're going to get at that. And then hopefully take it to, we are probably going to be recommending to selectmen that instead of doing it at Maytown meeting because of the massive educational effort, we're going to ask it to go to a fall town meeting. But having said that, there is another condominium association here in town who has a similar problem. And we have asked them if they would be willing to talk to their members about putting money in escrow account. What this would do is take these 3 units that are either going to have to fix their system on a planned basis, fix it on a regular basis when there's a problem, or hook up to a sewer. This sort of is a mechanism to not make you spend your money twice, but bank some monies so that they can only be used to improve what you've got now, either for a sewer or an emergency repair or a final repair. I think it would be very appropriate to, wait and watch. There are 2 cesspools and 3 units. Are these used year-round?
One is only used
Yeah.
for briefly during the summer. The
Yeah.
other 2 are currently
Yeah.
year-round.
And when you have a shaky system, you're already watching to make sure you don't leave the water running and,
Yeah.
and take good care. So I would be very open to begin the discussion of, do you want to talk about an escrow account and give you a pass for a year and then inspect it every 3 years on the regular basis, and watch the water use and make sure you have water conserving measures in place and things like that. I think it would be a reasonable request you make of us,
Okay.
and we could probably save you spending money twice.
Okay, and I'd like to know what the mechanics of setting up the escrow
Okay.
account are.
We
and
can
so
talk.
forth.
Let's move
Yeah,
on. We
yeah.
haven't got to the
and-
point of agreeing on that yet. So we've
Yeah,
got to move on.
okay, well, when that
Yeah.
comes,
Susan?
and just to say that we are due for our 3-year inspection next year for the whole condo, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's very wise to hold off at this point as long as you are aware of the condition, and it can be revisited in a year's time. At that point, we're going to know more. And if it looks like there will not be a sewer going down South Orleans Road for some length of time, at that point, then negotiate something. And that money that's held in escrow is money that, should something happen to your systems, you have access to that money to go in. So it's like a
Right.
savings account,
Right,
really,
right.
basically.
And I'm hoping that it can be in an interest-bearing account.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
with your interest as well,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
There are
So-
ways we can talk about that.
So it isn't like that money's out there and you won't be able to touch it if the time comes and that you have to replace your system, and it precedes any, any alternative.
Okay.
We haven't yet approved whether we're going to do this, so let's not get into too much detail. Sims?
First, if I may ask the health agent a question, how did this topic land before the board today?
The proponent asked, we have been following up to have the system repaired. The proponent spoke to the health department, and it was determined that they will finish the design of the septic system, and then they would come to the Board of Health for a discussion on extending the timeframe to repair it.
My inclination, Mr. Chairman, is at this point, if this condominium association is due for their 3-year inspection in approximately a year from now, round numbers, I think if the proponent has spent the money on getting the engineering done this year, as long as those plans appear to be adequate at this time, I think that should be the applicant's investment for this year. Give them a 1-year pass, review it after the 3-year inspection 1 year from now, and if at that time we choose to give them an extended pass, then talk about the escrow account at that time.
Maybe postpone the implementation of the money bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to have some sensitivity that I heard in the initial presentation that there may be some fiscal concerns here, and I think if they're spending their money on the engineering this year, that's a reasonable contribution. We're keeping a close eye on it by inspecting it in a year or less. So it would seem reasonable that if we give them a longer extension a year from now, when it has come back to this board for another discussion, that would be the time for an escrow.
Would you be willing to make that into a motion? I think?
Wait a second, Bob's got his hand up.
Bob, sorry.
The condominium is due to be inspected in the spring of '09, so it would be
2 years.
I have a
15
motion that
months
reflects
or
that.
18 months.
Okay, Gussie, there was a
I
motion.
move that in the
Oh, no.
matter of 123 South Orleans Road, Units 1, 5, and 6, who are under order to repair their septic system, we give an extension until May of '09.
I will second that. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0. So you've got a couple of years to get your,
But you can start beating the escrow drum and.
yeah, and warn them that they're gonna be, there's
Well,
gonna be.
I've told them already that that's, they might have to.
Could we attach to that motion and vote a finding that the public health is presently adequately protected?
That'd be a very good phrase to add. Would you be willing to do that?
As the motion maker, I add that.
Thank you, that's very useful and kind of nice. So I thank you for visiting.
Okay.
Got what you wanted, more or less.
And we'll see you a year from the spring.
Patiently, a group has been waiting to discuss 142 Monument Road. Sorry it took so long to get to you, but.
Quite okay.
So, let me-
Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Hasn't it been fun?
This one's not
Absolutely.
happening.
I had the same thing myself last night. I'm on the Mashpee Planning Board, and we went till about 11 o'clock, so
Oh, yes.
I know how it is.
Yeah. Oh,
Joe
yeah.
Mullen, and I'm an attorney with Latanzi's, Foley and Landry. And
M-U-L-L-I-N?
I-N. And I'm here with the rights today on their behalf. Before I get started, is there anything that you want me to clarify in terms of the issues here?
I don't know, Bob, do you want to explain the issues, or I don't know what's a good way to begin? Maybe it's a sort of historical thing. Maybe Mr. Canning, who is very familiar with it, might do that if you're willing to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Why don't you tell us the history of this
Sure.
house and studio?
November of '07, the Health Department received a septic system inspection report for 142 Monument Road. Noted on that report was a definition or a description of the property as being an existing 4-bedroom residence and a 1-bedroom studio. Doing a file review, we found that the septic system, which was installed in 1986, was installed or was noted on the plan as being a 3-bedroom dwelling and a 1-bedroom studio. Based on that, the Health Department wrote an order to Mr. and Mrs. Wright requesting that the discrepancy that's been identified be resolved. Looking into it from that point, I had the opportunity to do a site inspection at the property with the owners. Clearly, there are 4 bedrooms in the dwelling, and there is a unit out and back. I reviewed the Building Department records defined the studio in the back as being a study, bathroom, and storage area. At the time of my inspection on the property, it was built as it was designed, and it is set up as a study with a full bath, and there's storage out in the rear of the shed. I did not see the storage area, but clearly it's was designed and approved and constructed as the plan had showed. 1986, we did not have our current definition of a bedroom. It's quite likely that at that time, if someone came in as a studio or as an office, it would have been considered an office, not a bedroom. The problem we have is a discrepancy in our files as to whether this is a 4-bedroom dwelling with a 1-bedroom studio, is it a 3-bedroom dwelling with a 1-bedroom studio, or is it a 4-bedroom dwelling with an office studio in the back that is not to be considered a bedroom. I met with Mr. Wright and discussed that the best way to resolve this is to come before the Board of Health, discuss the issues, and try to come to some type of resolution on it.
So you're saying that when this studio was built in 1986, and the system was installed in 1986, it would not have been classified as a bedroom by the criteria of that time?
The system designer called it a bedroom.
Yep.
However, the regulations at the time would not have called it a bedroom, nor did the building permit indicate that it was a bedroom.
So there's nothing to have triggered an action of putting in a bigger system at that time,
That's correct.
20 years ago.
That's correct. However, we did not, review the floor plan. The main house was listed as 3 bedrooms, so.
I mean, there could have been a room in the main house that suddenly, by definition, turned into a bedroom.
Because definitions change.
Or started. They weren't around it, you said.
Bob, do you want to comment some more, because you gave us the history, and I don't know if...
Well, typically, when we review inspection on sale reports, if we can go back in the record and we can identify that a permit was issued and everything is in line with how that permit was issued, we would not be seeking someone's to come into compliance with the current code. What separates this is that there's a conflict in the record. The engineer called it one thing, yet the building plans and the owner's use are another. And I do believe complicating matters is that the Wrights no longer own the property. They have sold the property, so they're not currently the owners, and I think the board should know that as well. I think that makes a resolution.
You just had to come in and have some more fun with us, huh?
You're the new owner? Sims?
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask the health agent, it seems to me as I listen to the recounting of the histrionics that it's conceivable that there were 3 bedrooms and a room used as an office in the main house, and then a 1-bedroom studio was built, and then uses were swapped. If there was no definition, or if the current definition of a bedroom was put in place subsequent to 1986, could we have arrived at this because 3 bedrooms were used as a bedroom and one of the bedrooms was used as an office at the time of the application in 1986? I mean, how would the health department view that?
In 86,
scenario?
we would take the word of the homeowner as to what the use of the rooms were. There was not a bedroom definition. If someone said it was a study, an office, a den, a sewing room, that's what it was accepted as.
Yeah.
That's how the building department looks
Yeah.
at it.
And the assessor.
building code.
Yeah.
I think the plans are very clear. The building plans, says right on the building permit, and this is for the unit out in back, study, bathroom, shed, or storage room. Somehow it seems like the engineering plans did not agree with what the building plans are. That one said one thing and one said the other. I can only speculate that it was told that it is 4 bedrooms, and the system designer figured that this building in the back was 1 bedroom and 3 in the house, but I don't know that for a fact. I don't have any knowledge of how he determined the bedrooms. On the building plan, building permit application says number of bedrooms, 0. So I have a feeling that it was not intended to be a bedroom when it was constructed.
That's not for the main house.
All right, and if
That's
I may
correct.
ask a second question, Mr. Chairman. Would you comment on the septic system that's in the ground presently?
As to the components,
Capacity.
Flow and adequacy.
flow and adequacy, it is designed with a capacity of 524 gallons per day. 4 bedrooms would require 440 gallons per day. That was the design
And
rate
5
that was
bedrooms would be
used.
550.
550,
So
right.
And how much does it,
they're 26 gallons short.
It's
almost there anyway.
524. It's 1,000-gallon septic tank, which back in 1986 would have been adequate for up to 6 bedrooms. But under today's provisions, we would require 200% of design flow, so
And,
be adequate for 5.
and if there's been a transfer recently, then there's been a recent inspection?
Yes, the inspection's what triggered this. We received the inspection on November 9th, and the inspection took place on October 19th. And the description used by the inspector was 3, it says bedroom design, 3 + 1 studio, number of bedrooms actual, 4 + 1 studio.
Was the studio built at the same time the house, well, the house is an old
The
house.
house is very old. The bedrooms appear to have been there
Yeah.
for an extended period of time.
Is there heat in the studio?
Yes.
There is heat. Is there, in looking at the house, any way that we can open something up to, combat the isolation issue?
But the
Which-
bedrooms are used
I
as bedrooms,
think there's an
aren't they?
easier solution.
Is there an easier solution?
When I get my turn.
Okay,
I mean, the
sorry.
bedrooms are used as
That's
bedrooms.
all right, go ahead.
4 rooms are used as
Yeah,
bedrooms.
they are used as bedrooms.
Yeah, well, you can always open it up and it doesn't used as a bedroom then. Yeah, but anyway,
Without even avoiding
go
it.
ahead.
Sorry.
No, it's fine, it's my turn.
It's your turn.
It's my turn?
Yes.
The proponent hasn't.
Oh, no, Simsey's starting to pout. James has something he wants to say.
Mr. Canning, if there were not a bedroom discrepancy on this particular parcel, how would this real estate transfer be treated?
It would have been approved. If there was no discrepancy, we would not be retroactively enforcing our definition of a bedroom today.
And so that's the only reason that this is a question, is because of the discrepancy in the records?
We have to clear the records.
All right, and the system is functioning properly now?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. I'm done now.
Nah, Ms. McCusick.
Wait, the proponent wants to speak.
What do you want?
This guy's dying to speak.
I would
He's
suggest,
supposed to go first.
as the health agent has suggested, the sole reason we're here today is essentially because of the discrepancy in this. And I have tried to clear this up with Velco. Obviously, it's 21 years ago, so they had a hard time remembering that. Basically, I'm just here suggesting that this is wrong. Just to touch on some of the health agent's points and some of my own. Obviously, it was built before there was a definition, so we have that cleared out of the way. I would suggest, and you had mentioned the assessor's office and how they do business. I think it's important to note that the assessor's office, on the cards for the one property, the main property, lists 4 bedrooms, and the assessor's card for the studio lists it is a 0-bedroom property. And as well, as you'd mentioned, the building permit shows it as a studio apartment with no bedrooms, set up as an office. So I would suggest that bringing yourself back to what our guidelines were in 1986, that I have Mr. Wright here today, who is willing to express to the board that that was intended to be used solely as his office as a contractor, and that was the purpose of that being built. And we also have today Stephen Tringali, who was involved with the construction of that, who is also willing to express to the board that that was the purpose of that as well. Essentially, right now, since septic was approved in 1986, nothing has been done to that property that would have changed it one way or another. It was approved then. There have been no changes significantly that would have changed anything. The only difference is you have one set of plans saying that the bedroom, this is what we have, X bedrooms here and Y there, and another one. But I think that with the exception of the Felco plans, it seems to be evident that we have a 4-bedroom home and a studio office out there. So essentially, I would leave it at that. And if the board does wish to hear from Mr. Wright or Mr. Tringali, they're willing to speak.
Let me just continue through the board, and we'll see if there's need for more information. I kind of don't think there will be. Mr. Cusick?
I think this would be a very easy solution, but I just have a couple of questions. How big is the lot?
I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going.
Yes, I do.
You know where I'm going.
40,075 square feet.
Doesn't work.
Okay. And what is the square footage of the studio?
500?
Approximate's okay.
Okay. Okay. The reality of the situation is, because my septic tank was put in '86, we're all living on borrowed time. And one of two things is going to happen. The septic tank is going to work and serve this house no matter whether it's got studios, bedrooms, people in it, people not in it. So it is what it is, and it's either going to work or it's going to fail. And if it fails, you're going to be able to see it fail. The second reality is we're on the verge of a wastewater plan for the town, and I'm trying to picture what sub-watershed this is in, but in all likelihood, this is going to be on the hit list. Just like our previous person here, you know, they're asking to hold things together. So whether it's a bedroom or a studio or not, Mr. Chairman, I am prepared to inject a little reality into this. Say that this is a 5-bedroom property, have a deed registered 5-bedroom, and get on with it.
Leaving it as it is for the time being.
Yep, and let it be as it is.
Right.
I was going to suggest a restriction to 4 bedrooms, because one is being used as an office.
But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Why can't you do that? Oh, you're saying they're just 5 bedrooms and that's it?
That's not
They're
bad
fi-
news.
The problem with that, if I may,
That's not
is
bad
that
news.
One at a time, I'm getting bewildered here. I'm going to give.
the
Ms.
problem with
Muller.
that is that the rights no longer own the property.
Yeah, but we can put that into a deed. Well, you know, we can say.
Well, then why are we here?
Well, the rights
Because
are,
this is a 5-bedroom property. And if we deed restrict it as a 5-bedroom property and let the septic system say where it is, you know.
I would suggest that it's a 5-bedroom property under today's standards, but
Yeah.
going back to 1986, it's clearly not.
Well,
Right,
that
but when
doesn't
it
matter.
fails,
We don't,
it'll
we're
be
living
failed
in
under today's
the next
standards.
century.
It's going to fail, and it's going to fail under today's standards, and that'll be a 5-bedroom house, or dwelling, which will need a 5-bedroom system when it's replaced.
And then they won't,
No problem, it's going to happen. Sims?
and they're getting a break.
I mean, by definition, there are 5 rooms that could be classified as
Right.
bedrooms.
Today.
And,
Today.
and because we need to use the current definition today, not the 1986 definition today, I certainly don't think there's any wrongdoing, malfeasance, or maliciousness involved in the sequence of events here. It's clearly, there's been a conflict in definition in how one of the rooms has been used. I would also find that the septic system is very close to up to standards for a 5-bedroom
Yeah.
residence.
26 gallons.
They missed by 26 gallons, which would
Can I say
be
peanuts?
No. Cashews.
barely 5%. So they have 95% of the required capacity for a 5-bedroom house. I think we define it as a 5-bedroom house. We
For the
find that the system is operating adequately, provides adequate capacity,
Failure.
that if and when it fails, it will need to be replaced with a 5-bedroom system, and we're done here.
Make that a motion, would you? Because we're
Well, wait a
obliged.
second. Bob's problem is our paperwork isn't in order.
I have
So,
a question then. What if the assessor decides that a 5-bedroom house has a different assessment than a 4-bedroom house?
You've got a 5-bedroom house.
You've got a 5-bedroom.
you've got a 5-bedroom house.
Not-
You can argue the assessor, that's not my
Talk to the
baby.
assessor. Tell him you haven't changed a thing, is what it is.
Go to battle with them.
Yeah, it is by our definition, it's a five-bedroom house, and let's not get into that argument.
But does this solve your problem?
The reason why it's here is to have a decision so that our paperwork could go forward. I think that is a good option the board came up with. Another option would be to write a letter saying that there was a discrepancy at the time of the installation and review of the historical records. So it's a four-bedroom house with a studio.
That meets the
That
definition.
meets the
of
definition
Well,
of a
that, we
bedroom.
could say that meets the definition, or that it was a studio, and the board accepts the report as a four-bedroom home with a studio office. Any change from this is subject to further review.
I'm sorry, that is a fifth bedroom.
Okay.
If we do that, then we have to put a deed restriction on the property, and because the proponents that are here before us no longer own the property, I think then we're putting a restriction on someone in absentia. I'm not sure we can do that. So I think let's call a spade a spade. It's there are 5 rooms that fit the definition of a bedroom,
On this property.
regardless of how they're used. Now, in 1986, we'd accept the use as the definition. That is no longer the case. So we have I would suggest we make a finding that it is a 5-bedroom property, that the septic system that is there is
21
within,
years old.
within 5% of sufficient capacity, that it is currently functioning properly, that it adequately protects the public health, and that should it fail, it will need to be replaced with a system adequate for 5 bedrooms.
Or if selected for hookup to a public wastewater system, you know.
Or whatever those.
And
It doesn't
if
mean
the
you have-
chair would like me to couch that as a motion?
Yeah, please, I wish you would, I mean, you've done so just
I-
about.
Well, then in the matter of, what number?
142, if nobody jumps all over me.
142 Monument Road. I would move this board find that there are 5 rooms that would fit the definition of a bedroom, that there is a currently adequately operating wastewater disposal system on the property, that it is that it is suitable for 5 bedrooms presently, that the public health is adequately protected, and that should it fail, it will need to be replaced with a 5-bedroom system.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Well, just a point of order, you might want to ask the Wrights, who no longer own this home.
No, I know.
If they understand what we're doing and
You don't have to dig it up.
You don't have
Don't
to
have
dig
to
it
don't
up.
have to dig it up,
You don't have to, you
replace
don't
it.
have to take a wall down, you don't have to do anything.
It seems to me that you're using a retroactive law to change the definition of the property.
Because it's being sold today.
You're using a law which was instituted 2 years after the property was built. So therefore, you're.
No, it's because you sold it.
No,
That's right, you sold it today.
I hear everybody say, why don't I just keep quiet? At the same time, when you call it a 5-bedroom house, I cringe at that because that's not what it is.
Wow. But by
It
the
could be.
definition, somebody could have a bedroom in that studio.
Okay, all right.
So you have no control over the new
There are
purchase.
500 square foot apartments on Beacon Hill that sell for $500,000.
What?
I said there are 500 square foot condos on Beacon Hill that sell for $500,000.
Any other discussion on not Beacon Hill, but this little lot on Monument Road? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You're 5-0.
Okay.
Mr. Wright, you've made out beautifully. You're way ahead of the game, believe me.
Really, that was a gift.
We've done you a favor.
Is that okay with you?
Okay, Joe, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
The next item should have been 648 South Orleans Road. They've asked for a postponement,
Good.
continuation. Should we hang on to our materials on that, Bob? or-
If you could, yes.
Do you have a date certain?
No, they're with the Conservation Commission now. and-
Yes.
Thanks.
I have a neat idea.
What?
Can we hand this back into the health
Oh,
department and
yeah.
they redistribute
That's a
them
great idea.
when the applicant's ready to go? And that way I don't lose it in the back of my car?
I was going to put it in the back of your car, Sims.
Not a good idea. I never know what car I'm bringing to these
That's true.
meetings.
You've got a
Okay,
car challenged person.
okay.
If
No,
you want
Steve,
to make
give it
sure
to
you
me,
get.
write your name on it, I'll bring it.
I don't care.
Why does he have to write his name on it?
Because I'm gonna store it. I don't wanna make any more jobs in the health department.
Well, if Sims is doing it, it's not gonna be that hard for him to hold mine too.
Yeah.
Okay, put
But
your
Steve-
name on it and I'll hold on to these.
No, that's silly.
Yeah, let her.
Bob, I think we should have a little file for future meetings and
We
just put
could.
this together. We'll ask the good people in the
All right,
Department of
okay.
Health.
Give him another job.
Okay,
You
here
do
we
such a
go.
good job.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And one more.
Saving them, having to do it again.
Okay, we have, we're down to the minutes, two sets of minutes to be approved. The first is the minutes of that special meeting we had on November 29th.
And I move the minutes of November 29th be approved.
I will second that.
I did have a question.
Okay?
Okay, and it's about halfway down. It's a working session, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph down. It
On the
starts
first
the
page?
board members decided.
Yep.
And it says, a new bullet number 2 was added reading, do not affect any legal approved sewage design flow. Shouldn't it be, does not affect any legally approved sewage design flow?
No, because there's a, well, the blurb at the top with a colon is,
It's plural. It is
Yeah.
plural.
It is plural.
These regulations do, and these regulations do not.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's-
All
Probably,
right.
it's just,
All right.
because it's only part of a phrase, that's why it's confusing.
Yeah,
Grammatically, it is correct, Sue.
okay, I'll take your
It-
word
it-
for it,
it-
but I
it-
thought
it-
maybe it needed an ES.
Yeah.
Okay,
In the context of the document, it's.
okay, good.
It's been
All
moved
right,
and seconded.
that's all
Any
I-
other discussion on the minutes of November 29th? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
They are approved.
Shows that I read them.
Yeah, I'm
It
very-
shows
I'm
that
proud
you-
of you. I'm very proud of you.
I
Mr. Steve.
move the minutes of December 6th be approved, and I do have a request.
I do too. I will second that. What is your request, Ms. Cusick?
My request is per the habit of planning board, when they hold public hearings on important issues, they record, public hearings were held on such and such a time, there were X number of the public present. I request that a notation be inserted to indicate that no one was there.
No member
Which
of
one
the-
are you talking about?
The whole
December
meeting.
6th.
The whole meeting.
About the fee.
The public hearing, yeah.
Yes, the public
Yeah,
hearing.
that should
okay.
be an addition, therefore.
That's right.
We did
Says it
receive
at the very end, but you really have to look for it.
Where?
They- Well, oh, no, it's public and press, they said no one was present, but we should say that, you're right,
I think
Gussie,
that
about
should be
the
an
fees.
addition then.
What, Bob?
We did have a comment from Paul Daniels on these regulations, so maybe we
Well, no one was present at the public hearing.
No, no, wait
should,
a
he
minute.
was present.
Just present.
Okay, one person was
Wait,
present.
wait a minute, what
Well,
public
the-
hearing? This was not a public hearing.
On the
Fees.
Yes, there was a public hearing, okay, right.
Okay,
Yes, there was.
But I do request when we have public hearings from now on, there be some note, as planning board does. I think it indicates several things. Number one, that some people read notices and some people come and don't come.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, that practice from the planning board is derived from the requirement that the planning board make a report to town meeting on public hearings concerning proposed zoning bylaw changes. That's where that comes from. And it is not routinely done on public hearings on other matters that the planning board addresses.
Well,
So
Yeah,
it's not always a requirement of the planning board doings.
I think in our attempt to be transparent, though, I think it is very appropriate, if people go back and look at these, that, we do know that these have been advertised as appropriate, and that the opportunity was there, and only one person availed themselves of the opportunity. And I think it's very important, record that.
I have no issue with the transparency. I guess what I want to make sure that we don't give the impression that no one was in the room, because there were people who had other business before this board who were in the room at the time of the public hearing. So maybe the reference would be how many people spoke to the question of the matter on the public hearing.
That might be a better way, and one person did speak. I do have a correction, I think, on page 9. where it says findings are, toward the bottom of the page. Number 2 says magnitude of the proposal, and then it adds Ms. Mikusik, who made the motion, a statement that she did state probably, quote, "in my opinion." I do not think that the minutes should say "in my opinion," because it's a motion upon which ultimately we all voted. Or some of us voted.
I wondered about that, but I do try to do them verbatim.
No, but it shouldn't be.
So how does that?
Just cut that out. I mean, yeah,
Well, I said it, so you can't cut it out. Put parentheses around it or something. I mean, those are words that came out of my mouth, and since I'm being quoted so often now, I certainly wouldn't want to be accused of expunging the record.
well, in that case, I would say in the opinion of the proponent. Simpson?
In my opinion,
Oh, don't laugh.
it's redundant. Because a statement from an individual is clearly their opinion.
Yeah.
And
she voted for it.
And so if a member of any regulatory board is making a motion, it is their opinion that that is the course of action or that is the consideration. And so I think
Can we strike it?
the inclusion of those words between the commas is redundant by virtue of the fact that that person made the motion. It is their opinion.
I'm not going to move to expunge.
I will.
Because then I'm expunging the
Yourself.
record.
I will move that
And
these
certainly not
redundant words be expunged from the record. If there's a second to
Purposes
this.
of clarity.
For the purpose of clarity. Will you second
I
that?
will second that.
Now, let's go back to the main motion. All those in
Does that
favor?
mean we can't sign it today?
Oh, we can sign it. We'll get this
No,
cleaned
you
up
can
later.
sign
Oh,
it.
that's
sign
right,
it.
the final sheet, okay. Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we've approved these minutes with one very minor change. The two, actually, I think, 2 changes.
10 pages, here, that was very good minute
And
Yeah.
I
taking.
again
That
want
was
to
not an
thank
We
you.
appreciate you.
Was not an easy thing.
Item 11 is review of, oh, no, actually, number 10, we have a health agent's report, I assume, before
Yes,
that.
we do.
We'd love to hear from you, Bob.
Freaking right past it, didn't we?
We'll try to get by. We'll
That'd
try
be
to
a
get by,
shame,
but you wouldn't
I
let me.
wouldn't have to speak. Health Agents Report, December 20th, licenses. We have applications from the East Orleans Deli for food service, retail food, and tobacco sales. I would recommend the Board of Health approve those, subject to final inspection by the Health Department. This
So
is
moved.
for,
So
this
moved.
is for a new owner of the deli.
So moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now, I just.
Do we know his name?
Rob Sethares, Sethares.
Is
It was,
that for the remainder of this year, or is this for
No,
next
this would be
year?
for '08.
Oh, wait.
Yep, I'm sorry, I should have said that.
He was here last meeting.
Yeah.
Under food service for 2008, Hillcrest Pizza. It's where Stella's Pizza has been. There'll be a new owner, Sarah Robin, and I recommend the board grant that permit, subject to Health Department's final inspection.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500.
Clarification, is that going to be at DBA Hillside or back to Stella's?
I believe it's going to be called Hillcrest.
Okay, Hillcrest, so, yeah, doing business as Hillside.
Isn't that what was there before it was Stella's?
That
Or
was
that
Hilltop.
Hilltop,
Hilltop.
Stella's, Hillcrest, okay.
Okay. Septic installer, Blue Water, is applied for a permit for '07 and for '08. I recommend the board grant those. And also Blue Water has applied for septic collection and transportation for '07 and '08.
So moved. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500.
Find my pen.
Very good. Flu clinics
I'm happy to loan.
Oh, thank you.
on December 19th. Yes. On December 19th, the town held an additional flu clinic at the Council on Aging. This clinic was put on in conjunction with the Brewster Health Department. The clinic was open to all individuals over the age of 18 years from the town of Brewster
Yeah.
and Orleans. At the clinic, 75 total shots were administered. The total for the town of Orleans this year was approximately 640 immunizations. The town has approximately 200 doses remaining. These doses will likely be returned to the Department of Public Health for distribution.
Of the 75 on the additional day, How are they split between Brewster and
It
Orleans?
was almost 50-50. It's a good split. We had some from other towns, but I believe they were probably employees in towns or people who worked in Orleans. So we have some from, Eastham, Truro, one from Plymouth. But I believe they were
Can we go
employees.
give Sims one? He didn't get his shot.
Is he over 18?
I don't know, he's not over 18.
My husband has a wonderful
I-
cartoon about being up to your ass in alligator.
Well, I'm so scatterbrained, I must be a teenager.
The last thing we may do before we surrender these vaccines to the DPH is, again, I'll check with fire and police to make sure our first responders have, because they work in shifts, it's difficult for them to make clinics. I talked to the VNA, and if we do have a number of employees who need that, our first responders, then we could have a nurse go to the fire or police department to administer the
sneak you in.
vaccines, and certainly
you have
Mr.
to have a nurse
McGrath will be
given?
kept in line. We always have.
If I show you my license, can I get to stick a
Well,
pin in
You
Sims?
could probably get to stick the pin, but I don't know
Come
how
on.
how we can wrestle them away from the VNA.
Oh,
They have the
God.
provider number that we use, so.
Listen, they've been wonderful.
Pardon me
and
while I dull this needle.
Like, you don't get enough jabs in anyway?
Okay.
The VNA has
we
been
should-
totally
We should
wonderful.
go forward.
and
Poor
let's move
Mr.
on. Let's
Daniels,
move
are
on.
you here to speak? Or you just?
Let us move on.
Okay, so we should move on. So
We
you
will
can-
move on.
Fish consumption advisory for Baker's Pond. The Massachusetts Department of Public Health has issued a fish consumption advisory for Baker's Pond based on elevated levels of mercury. This advisory is issued through a cooperative effort of the Mass Department of Public Health, the Department of Environmental Protection, and the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. The advisory is as follows. The Mass Department of Public Health has reviewed fish toxic data generated by the Department of Environmental Protection for Baker's Pond. Mercury has been detected in fish caught from Baker's Pond. The mercury level in yellow perch was below the Food and Drug Administration action level for mercury of 1 milligram per kilogram, but within a level that may pose health concerns. Mercury may accumulate in individuals who frequently eat fish contaminated with mercury, thus leading to an increased risk of health effects. Fetuses, nursing infants, and young children are particularly sensitive to the development and health problems associated with mercury exposure. Because of health concerns associated with exposure to mercury, the DPH offers the following recommendations. And these are the recommendations. Children under 12, pregnant women, nursing mothers, and women of childbearing age who may become pregnant should refrain from consuming yellow perch from Baker's Pond to prevent exposure of developing fetuses, nursing infants, and young children to mercury. 2, the general public should limit consumption of yellow perch caught from Baker's Pond to 2 meals per month. The Department of Public Health has requested that we post the advisory at Baker's Pond in Town Hall. That has been done. Tomorrow I'll be working with Sarah Freeman to have the information posted on the town website.
Do they know where the mercury came from?
No, there's no indication of that.
Atmospheric
It is-
deposition.
Is it atmosphere?
It's throughout the state.
Oh, it is? Okay. So, I mean, it isn't particular to Baker's
No.
Pond?
No.
This was the direct result of us requesting that that be done.
Yes,
So our other ponds were okay, because I think we did Crystal, Pilgrim, and Baker's.
That's correct. I'll have to call the state to make sure on that. I've not been able to, but this is one of the 3 ponds that we requested be tested. We
There was an
requested
article in
6
the
feet.
paper today.
Was there? Okay.
I haven't seen the paper today.
Okay, let's move on. We've still got much to do.
Daniel's C&D facility. Enclosed in the packet is a letter to Daniel's Recycling regarding the hours of operation approved by the Board of Health site assignment condition. On December 10th, in response to a complaint, the Orleans Health Department monitored the traffic entering and exiting the Daniel's Recycling site between 7:05 and 7:45 a.m. During our investigation, the Health Department observed vehicles entering the facility for offloading of C&D material beginning at 7:39, where 8 o'clock is the time approved by the Board of Health. On December 20th, the Health Department, we wrote to Daniels informing him of those violations. We also spoke to Daniels Recycling. On December 20th, the Health Department conducted an inspection of the site to see if vehicles were being allowed to enter the facility prior to 8 o'clock. At the time of the inspection, Daniels Recycling was turning customers away until 8 o'clock a.m. It should be noted that both of the Health Department inspections were unannounced and were unknown to Daniels Recycling Company. Last, nutrient-sensitive regulations. The Board of Health public hearing for nutrient-sensitive regulations is scheduled for Monday, January 7th, 2008, at 2 in the afternoon and 7 o'clock in the evening, and they'll be held in the Nauset Room. Notification of this hearing will be published in the Cape Codder on December 21st and December 28th, 2007. I'll also discuss with Sarah Freeman the ability to put notice of the hearing and the actual regulations on the town website, so people can see those.
So we
That is my
discussed it
report.
last
We did. Okay, let's move on now to quite a bit of stuff in correspondence.
Agenda item 11.1 and agenda item 11.2 are letters from two establishments, Noni's and the Nauset Beach Club, requesting the Board of Health grant an extension to the requirement to replace a certified food protection manager at the establishments. In the case of Noni's, the certified food protection manager has left the employment of the facility. In the case of the Nauset Beach Club, a gentleman who had the certification has had that expired. There is a language barrier that he's trying to overcome to take the test to pass it, and it looks like that will be happening early next year. So the regulations require that they replace someone within 60 days, and the Board of Health can grant a 60-day extension beyond that. And these folks are asking for extensions.
Do you have any problem with either one of these?
No, I don't.
So can you, one motion will do both?
I just have a question. Mr. Chairman, Noni's is talking about they're going to be enclosed for the month of February. That includes their 60 days, or are you going to give them 30
No,
days in January?
that's when they'll be taking the course, is in February, so.
The 60 days is now, isn't it? I mean, we're in it.
60 days would be, yeah, from now,
Okay.
March 1st.
So they can operate for 60 days without,
Correct.
and then if they're closed, there's no violation because they're not operating.
That's correct.
Can somebody move that we
Did
approve
you lose
both?
something?
Okay. Bye.
One motion will do both.
I grant both of these requests for extensions be granted.
Second that, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0.
Item number 11.3.
Yeah, what is this? Is that a test? This is
No,
a test.
that is an article that was given to me by someone in the Water Department, January 10th, 1952. Orleans voters act on public restrooms and sewage disposal units. Not much has changed in 55 years.
The language
That's
has.
sad.
The language has. It sounds almost
They do keep doing my,
Victorian. Yes, I know, it's amazing.
I was in high school.
Interesting.
Item number 11.4 is a letter written by Patricia McGraw, Ph.D., asking it to be entered into public record or file. They're requesting that the Cape Cod Commissioners input on the matter of the horse farm up on Eli Rogers Road or Route 39. It's my understanding that last night the Board of Selectmen voted to forward this to the
Yes.
Cape Cod Commission for their
Yeah.
review.
Now, you know, we've heard nothing about this except indirectly.
Yeah.
We had a letter last time which made reference to this. We've read about it in the newspaper, but we've never received anything, which seems to me kind of very different from when the Brewster Sand and Gravel situation, which is very similar in some ways, where we were involved to the hilt. I'm
Well-
not looking for more work, but I'm surprised that we didn't hear more about this.
I think Brewster Sand and Gravel started off this way, that concerns and inquiries were brought to the attention of the Board of Health, and the board requested the Health Department get involved. The letters we've received have asked that it be forwarded to the Cape Cod Commission. I believe that the Board of Selectmen at last night's meeting have forwarded this to the Cape Cod Commission.
But my question is, this letter came, copied Board of Health, so I'm assuming it went to somewhere else. How can we assure that this is included in the packet that goes to the Cape Cod Commission?
I could speak to Mr. Kelly about it. It's written to the
Actually,
Selectmen.
if you see at the
Hinckley-
top, it's addressed to the selectmen by name.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so, okay, but this ought to go to the commission.
Well, it's up to them to whether to send it or not.
If the board wants, I can forward the letter to the commission, but it was sent to the selectmen who have taken the action that was requested, so.
As I say, we've not been directly involved, and I just don't want to offend anybody again by slighting anybody, but we have not been involved.
It's your New Year's resolution.
It's my resolution for next year, okay.
Mr. Chairman, as a point of order, could I ask it, is there opinion as to whether it would be appropriate or not appropriate for this board to forward any correspondence it receives on a particular topic that the commission may be taking under their consideration, to forward that correspondence to the commission so that it can be included in their deliberations?
You can do that?
Even though we have not been in direct contact with the commission on that issue.
Well, certainly this board would be aware that the commission is considering an issue, and if this board receives correspondence on the matter, but does not have any direct dealings with the subject matter at this particular time, we may be receiving it later, would it not be appropriate for a body that is considering an issue to be aware of correspondence concerning that issue?
I think, in my opinion, no, I think that particularly the new culture at the Cape Cod Commission, that is going to be more assisting to the towns and not as much regulatory. I think even though they're not in a formal comment period, I don't think it would hurt.
Well, and things like that, I believe are, and I'm trying to reference this generically, any topic that they take on that's going to have a public hearing process, I am at this moment not coming up with a reason not to be a good sharer and forward copies of any correspondence we have on a topic.
My only concern is, using this situation as an example, it could have been that this was addressed to us and not to the selectmen who forwarded it to the commission. And I think it'd be important that the selectmen who now are in the driver's seat as far as this is concerned, be aware of such things. So I think at least it should go both ways, so that we would not do an end run around in this case, the Board of Commissioners. Board of Selectmen, rather.
Well, I agree, and because this was addressed to the Board of the Selectmen,
Right.
and we were copied on it, perhaps then the question would be posed to the town administrator. Will this letter be, will a copy of this be forwarded to the commission as part of the correspondence on this issue? And what should the Board of Health's policy be when they're copied on something like this? It seems to me that it's addressed to the selectmen, then the selectman's office or the town administrator would be responsible for forwarding it. But on other issues where this board is addressed directly in a letter on a topic that the commission will be considering, it seems to me that it should be a matter of policy that we forward correspondence so that it may be included in their deliberations.
As long as we don't short-circuit anybody,
And deference paid to other boards that may be involved.
He's suggesting if we're the primary recipient, not the copy, not
Right.
the CC
Yeah.
recipient.
Right.
If we're the primary recipient, I think it's a good policy.
Yeah.
I mean, this letter could well have been addressed to us.
Hypothetically, if this letter had been addressed to this board directly without a CC to the Board of Selectmen, then I think in these circumstances, I would suggest that a copy be forwarded to both the selectmen and the commission.
But that really was the only point I was making, that we have to make sure that whoever is the pivotal point in this, in Orleans, gets a copy too.
Yeah, I just hate to be called to task for correspondence languishing in a file here in Town Hall when the issue's being considered in Barnstable.
Okay. Good suggestion, thank you.
Just so I'm clear, as I understand it, the board is not asking me to forward the two letters that we were copied on. I'll discuss with Mr. Kelly to see if they'll be forwarding it on and work out a protocol with him.
I think that's really what I'm asking you to do, Bob, is let's establish the protocol.
Last week, the board asked me to establish a protocol on nonprofit organizations. This is really the same policy statement that the Board of Selectmen have on nonprofit organizations. So I did a draft policy statement for the Board of Health. We already have a request from the Council on Aging to waive a fee. It's a town facility. They'd be paying us to go into town coffers. I don't know if the board wants to add to this policy that town facilities do not have to pay the fee. I mean, it's a town paying the town.
Yeah,
We hadn't thought about that till now.
I think that's a good idea.
I mean, if there's the opportunity for a waiver in the policy statement, I think that covers that. I don't think we have to add line after line for different opportunities. Obviously,
I mean, yeah, it is a nonprofit organization.
Yes, and we get plenty of permits from the library,
Oh, yeah?
Council on Aging, so.
Yeah.
well, and anything that's municipally operated, I think by definition is nonprofit.
Do we have to vote on this, or is this just?
If the board could vote on that, so when we receive phone calls, we could say, we do have a policy, you can appeal to the Board of Health to have the fee removed or lessened.
It's your baby.
I would move that we adopt this policy statement on nonprofit organization licensing fees as printed in the draft.
I will second that. Any further discussion?
I just wonder
Yeah.
if this is something that you can just bring to us as opposed to somebody having to come before us.
Oh, I would bring it to you in the health agent's report, I believe, yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
I think when I present the license for your approval, I can present that as well.
11-6.
11.6 is just for the board's information. It's a letter from Leo Lombardo, or Pio Lombardo, regarding a Nitrex nitrogen-removing technology.
You know about this? I mean, this is something that's.
I've had no experience with this.
You have?
This is information that's been presented to the Wastewater Management Steering Committee on a number of occasions.
Anything we need to do or think or say
Nope.
about it?
I think some of the numbers and thresholds being met in this might be different from previous correspondence, but we've been made aware of the technology previously.
Thank you. We'll move on.
Item number 11.7, this I'm bringing to the Board of Health. I meant to attach a letter to it. Board of Health granted a variance on this property to depth to groundwater. The state has made them redesign their septic system to avoid groundwater. And I just wanted to bring it to the Board of Health's attention in that we acted on it. We discussed at the last meeting handling it like this.
Thank you.
Item number 11.8, the board requested that I obtain the information that the Board of Water Commissioners had regarding the horses up on Eli Rogers Road.
Future horses.
Future horses. Attached is the link of the DEP website, and I gave directions as best I could as to how to access that link and work your way through their system to come to this section. And I also included in one of the brochures that the state has.
It made interesting reading
Now,
for non-equestrians such as me.
Item number 11.9 is regarding the Daniels Recycling. I explained this earlier to the Board of Health. We did an inspection. We wrote to Daniels Recycling, and we did a re-inspection today, and we found that they were complying with the requirements.
Now, Mr. Mayor wrote this letter dated the day of our previous meeting.
Right, the board did not have knowledge of this at the last meeting.
This is the letter that Mr. Mayo had discussed in his comments during public and press.
Today, he said, he filled it. But we did not know about it last meeting, because I want to make sure the world knows that.
So this is a copy of the letter, but we've already been through this topic
Right.
today.
Yep. And that brings us to the unnumbered, and this is my fault, not Linda's. I put in the draft to Greg Smith very late in the packet. This is what the board, this includes the motion of the Board of Health last week requesting the Cape Cod Commission.
Wait a minute, I'm lost.
we had it.
This is, okay, I'm with you.
December 20th.
Out of here now.
Right.
You can leave
The
that.
red star one.
Yes, the one I started.
I get to go home early.
Merry Christmas, Robin.
Oh,
Bye.
Same
Merry
as
Christmas.
my
Christmas,
fellow
Robin.
board members.
Merry Christmas there, Robin, if I don't see you
Thank
before, which I will.
I'll see you around.
I like the lights on Tony's boat. They're very
Yeah.
pretty.
Thank you.
How does he get how does he get the power out there?
Extension cord.
All Aries pond gonna go up in flames?
I don't.
Okay.
Do you see our little tree when you look across?
Whoops.
No, I have not. I should have. I'm too busy watching for the bumps in the road.
Thanks, Robin. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, this letter is the same as the letter of
Ho, ho, ho.
December 3rd, which the board reviewed at its last meeting. Included at the end of this letter is the board's request that the Cape Cod Commission take the Daniels proposal as a major modification and focus on the areas of internal equipment and its efficacy to remove pollutants and on the traffic issues.
At the selectmen's meeting last night, I watched parts of it. The question was asked whether the Board of Health has any jurisdiction on traffic outside a site that's being discussed itself.
Public health, yes.
My perception, I thought yes. And I was surprised that the Board of Selectmen did not simply choose to endorse what we had done with perhaps clarification or emphasis upon the traffic issues outside the facility site itself. But they didn't. They had a 3-2 split and sent, I assume, a letter very much like this.
Like this, but they did contain in their letter a couple of points that's not in ours regarding a potential for funds to be given to the town so we can hire an independent consultant, and a potential for land to be donated to improve a intersection at the corner of Gedaya Hill and Finley Road.
That's appropriate, Bob, because that is absolutely not within the jurisdiction of the Board of Health. I think,
Well, I think they wanted to make sure that those items were going to get a fair review. After the board discusses this, I could go a little bit into the possibility we have of receiving funding for a peer review of the Daniels facility. But if we could focus on this first. The board voted at the last meeting 3-0-1 to send this to the Cape Cod Commission as a major modification. I have modified the letter to reflect the board's concerns. I think what would be appropriate is for the board to review this, and if everything is okay, vote to have Dr. Schneider forwarded to the Cape Cod Commission.
One thing that happened since then, you met with the representatives of the commission. Our problem last time, we all agreed in principle. We agreed that this is what we wanted to do, but we had some difficulty with the wording, the exact wording of it. Sims, as I recall, your decision to abstain was based not on concept, but upon wording.
Well, and my decision to abstain from the vote on this letter at our previous meeting was a lack of clarity on my part on the mechanics of the process. And I have since gained clarity on the mechanics of the process, and I would, if given an opportunity, vote in favor of sending this letter now.
we'll get a chance today.
And I would make, just while I have the floor, I'd observe for the benefit of board members, I was at the selectmen's meeting last night. I had an opportunity to speak on a separate matter. My interpretation of that 3-2 vote, one of the nays that was cast appeared to me to be cast because that individual felt that the Board of Health's letter would suffice, and not necessarily because that voter was in disagreement with following this process. So I think on the principle of the subject, it appeared to me that the selectmen's vote was more likely a 4-1. And at least that was the interpretation I got from the comments of one of the nay voters. made during the discussion.
Actually, I watched that. I happened to watch that part of television, and that same person, you're talking about David Dunford, I'm sure, he actually made some very favorable comments about the Board of Health. And I was rather pleased there's somebody saying something nice about us after all this, so.
I think it was brave of him at that particular moment to do so, and I'm grateful for his kind comments. But I interpreted his comments to be, he was in favor of our letter, and he felt our letter would suffice.
As I say, it was John Fuller questioned the extent of our, authority, responsibility, I suppose. Bob, you said you want to take us through a little more carefully. Are there issues in the letter which we've seen before?
No, I think the only thing I would add for clarification, we did have a question about technical assistance.
Mhm.
I don't want to confuse the two matters, so.
That's separate.
I think we could.
I move that we send the letter dated December the 20th to Mr. Greg Smith from the Board of Health and sign it as Jan Schneider on our behalf.
I will second that. Any discussion? And maybe, Mr. Daniels, you've been very patient. I don't know if you want to comment. No, you can't really comment on our motion, but I just wondered if we needed to hear from you. Okay, that's good. I've already been criticized for being nice to you, so I'm not going to be nice to you anymore.
I don't expect it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's now 4-0-0. Well, there's
yeah.
one recused. It's not an abstention. It's one person is recused.
All those present.
All those present have voted in favor. I'm glad, actually, Simmons. I'm glad it's kind of unanimous from this board now. I think
Well,
that's, I think
and
it needs-
I apologize if my lack of being thoroughly informed last time around was a wet blanket, but I wasn't confident casting my vote. I wasn't confident that it was a fully informed vote, and so I withheld it last time.
I think it was actually very useful to us to get your
It's an iterative
concern.
process.
No, I think your concern, your
Popular
caution was
word these
worthwhile. Bob, I will sign this
Okay.
as it is.
Okay.
And I think, by the way, though it's over my signature, I would have you know that this is Bob's letter, and I think it's an excellent letter.
Yes, it is an
Yeah.
And I
excellent
really
letter.
think you've done a wonderful job, and I thank you for that, Bob.
I had great help from you and Sims, so.
Well, Sims and I had some minor part in it. All right.
If I could, before we go to the next item, we did have a opportunity to meet, and I say we, Town Administrator's Office, the Health Department, and the Planning Department, meet with the proponents from Daniels Recycling to discuss a number of issues, but one issue which was discussed is the ability for the Town of Orleans to receive monies from the proponent that the town will receive to hire its own consultant for peer review. We're in discussions with this right now, but the idea would be that we would have a consultant on earlier in the process than just the site assignment hearing. We would have it on in the process also as it goes through the Cape Cod Commission. And therefore, there will be a clarity of our concerns that we express to the commission with more understanding than we have today. Daniels has offered to give the full application packet that is going to the commission to a consultant of our choice so that they can review the entire packet, a technical review for the Board of Health, meet with the Board of Health, and the board could go on his recommendations, so.
Yeah, I would like to clarify what I said last week. I was not aware that in this situation, the towns could accept monies and without going through the RFP process and all that. Because if this, I was correct in that if this is an RFP process, it could be incredibly burdensome. But after the fact, we found out that this is something that can be done without that. Because it really is hoops and loops you have to jump through if it were the RFP process.
Why we can do it in this case is that our hearing that we have is not a simple public hearing. It's a
Public meeting?
a judiciary hearing. And it is allowed under the general laws exempt from the Procurement Act in that case. So it really is a special case that would allow it for this type of use. So we're exploring that, we're working with the proponent, and we're hoping to.
Well, I do have one request, that when there are a range of appropriate firms to be asked to do this, that the decision be completely out of the advice and input of the Board of Health, because I do not want to be accused of having deals made, continued deals to be made, and deals yet to be made, but they're being thought of or being made. I mean, I really resent the implications that, you know, that we're just gonna go out. I mean, that was not worthy of public speak today, that this is a setup. So I would ask that you use any expertise possible and do it with John Kelly or planning, I don't know who. But I think when that decision is made, come in and tell us who it's gonna be. And as far as Mr., what's his name? It was our
Morrison?
officer last time.
Oh, Gilmore.
Oh, Gilmore, yeah. If
Jerry
I
Gilmore.
remember, the last time, there are certain people we couldn't take. I mean, we wanted to get Dewey, there were a lot of things that we couldn't do.
Right.
And there was a limited selection. I mean, I don't want to have anything to do,
Well,
and we didn't in the past
I
have,
could tell you
choose
that
that.
the hearing officer and
Yeah.
the hearing officer last time was selected through consultation with town administrator and town council, and then approved by the Board of Health. The Board of Health did not, it was really town council that went on a search for a
Yep.
hearing officer. Also knowing the way Mr. Kelly, as our procurement officer, scrutinizes hirings, I'm sure that he'll be very careful on the selection of a
Yeah,
consultant.
I mean, we'll rubber stamp it,
And,
but I don't want anything to
Yep.
do with
Well,
that.
I don't even think the Board of Health would rubber stamp that. I think it'll be a hire
Whatever.
by the
Keep it
selectmen's
out of our
town
head.
administrator's office, so.
Honestly, last
Good.
week I made a comment that I was uneasy with the idea. My worst paranoia didn't even cross my mind that we might be suspect of having some sort of favoritism in this. I was concerned that if it was a consultant where the money could be traced to the Daniels facility, that there would be some in town who would never believe that this was
just
clean of influence from the funding source. But the enthusiasm of the selectmen and the enthusiasm of the town administration is such that I'm willing to sit back and let it be. But that was my concern. That's why I kind of said what I said last week.
It's libelous and it's slanderous to
Well-
accuse us of having this set up.
Well,
I'm not going to stand
Well,
for that.
consider the
well,
source.
Mr. Chairman,
Kathy.
I-
You know,
I-
the
I-
lady, you know.
I think the point should be made that this is not uncommon circumstances where a stipend is provided, so that professional advice may be, or consultants might be engaged for review of an application. This is by no stretch of the imagination unusual.
Okay.
And so it's, in a town like this, it's not frequent, but in the wider world, it's not unusual, and it passes the sniff test.
Well, I'm totally unaware of that, so I'm just being educated. Anyway, the town is doing it, and we heard the selectmen on it, so luckily, I think it's out of our hands anyway, isn't it?
Yes, but it will be a consultant that is used by the Board of Health for Board of Health purposes, so. But I believe the hire, and I'll confirm it with Mr. Kelly, but I believe the hire is going to be hired through the town administrator's office. He's the chief procurement officer.
Thoroughly appropriate.
Well, there are 2 points that I'd like to clarify when I'm thinking about timeline here and thinking about scope. Timeline is the referral will be made, and the commission will not make a decision until their meeting of January 7th whether to take this or not.
That's correct.
And they may not make it that day. It may take a while to make
Well,
that decision.
they have to take it. The question is, will they take it as a major or a minor modification?
They have to take it?
They have to take it as.
I was of the impression that it had to go through the regulatory committee
Well,
first.
The regulatory committee must make the decision as to whether it's a minor or a
Oh,
major
okay, all right,
modification.
fine.
And an application is going to be made for that.
Okay.
They'll have to review that.
But I did also learn that they will have hearings here in Orleans if we
The
want them.
hearing will be,
The
or the hearing will be in Orleans,
Good.
Cape Cod
People don't
Commissions,
have to
as will
drive.
the Board of Health hearings.
Right.
The other thing that we're trying to coordinate with the commission is the approval process, their approval versus a Board of Health approval. And in case something comes up in one or the other approval process, how we can address that. If, in that the Board of Health does not have a formal application before it, and we don't know everything about the facility, if something comes up during our site assignment process that would require technical review by the Cape Cod Commission, how can we make that work? So we'll be continuing to pursue that matter.
The other point I wanted to make about scope, scope of authority, is it was said last night, and I'm not sure if this is accurate or not, but when the Board of Health, when this finally comes to the Board of Health for the hearing process, the adjudicated hearing, we may set findings for the site assignment and conditions, but we may not accept or reject the project.
No, I believe that the Board of Health, the site assignment regulations requires the Board of Health to make a decision if it meets the criteria under the CMRs, under the site assignment regulations. If the proponent can convince the Board of Health that it meets that criteria, the board must grant the site assignment. It reads in terms of the board, unless the board finds that they are not meeting these criteria, a site assignment shall be granted. So I believe that's...
So step one is to decide
Well,
that
the-
they're meeting the criteria, and then step two is putting your findings and conditions.
Well, I think how we did it last time is that the Board of Health...
Remember, I
in the-
recused myself last time.
Yeah, in the process, the Board of Health reviewed the proposal, had the public hearings, received input from the proponent, from the general public, from the interveners who had attorneys and specialists, evaluated all the information, and the conclusion was that with these conditions, the site is suitable for a construction demolition facility. The proponent had proved to the satisfaction of the Board of Health that they met the conditions contained in the regulation, and the Board of Health granted a conditional approval. And that's what it was. So the findings and the conditions are all part of the approval or denial process.
Do you have an idea on timeline for these things?
No, I think that it's going to matter on how long. If it goes to the commission, then we're not going to be hearing it until they're at least through their public hearings.
And we have public hearings in addition to the commission's
That's
public.
correct.
So what do we do right now? Where are we?
Well, we're signing the letter, we're sending it to the Cape Cod Commission. We'll continue to follow up on
And we're gonna have a Merry
issues.
Christmas and move on to 2008.
Very good. Sims.
As part of the mechanics of the process, am I to understand, and I think I've heard suggestion of this, I'm looking for some confirmation, is that as the commission reviews this, is it possible that they hold their process open? If they take it up, they go through the mechanics of their process, they can hold their process open until this board has had an opportunity to review and comment?
That is a possibility that we're exploring, that they would have their process, make their findings and conditions, and then we would hold our process prior to them closing their process. Once they close it, it's closed. But logistically, there are timeframes that we have to work under, there's timeframes they have to work under. They may be asking the proponent to grant an extension to allow that to happen, because if not, then we may have to start the cycle all over again, so.
It seems to make sense to run them concurrently, or to some degree concurrently, so that there can be a little bit of an exchange and understanding of intentions and requirements.
Well, we discussed the possibility of a joint review or a concurrent review, and I didn't feel comfortable with that based on the following. We have to make a determination of our site assignment on issues such as vehicular congestion, safety to pedestrians, and I didn't feel that the Board of Health could hear that until we had the input from our experts, the commission.
Mhm.
And I felt that the commission would have to finish their review on that and make their report, so the Board of Health would have that
Information.
technical
Well,
information.
Understood, and I guess when I suggest concurrent review, I bring that up with the idea that they don't feel obligated to complete and close their process before our process can begin. So that to some extent, the two processes are open at the same time.
I think what we're trying to do is just that, and I think we want the two processes to be coordinated,
Or at least an
coordinated review, and be complementary to each other, so.
You're just aware of the quorum issues, and this is one of those
Right.
things you don't want to have somebody out in the beginning or out in the middle, because then they can't
Right.
be part of the process.
Okay, my mind's in a spin on all this.
Okay, the last item in the packet is a letter to Green Seal Engineering, Green Seal Environmental. It's a follow-up letter to their response to our letter of November 20th.
Which, again, is a very good letter, Bob. It sort of says what had to be done. I'm sure Mr. Daniels has seen it.
Maybe he wants to speak to
Is this what you wanted to speak to? No. No. I mean, this goes back to the very opening salvo of the infractions which are found at your facility when Mr. Canning visited, and it's been to and fro between Mr. Canning and Stephen, your son, and the engineers. I think it's clear now, and I hope that that's the last we'll need to consider that. Anything else for the good of the order, friends?
Under new business, if I might. On January 17th, the Wastewater Management Steering Committee is holding a public hearing. The first is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the second is at 6:30 in the evening. Ms. McCusick, as chair of that committee, and I, as the planning board representative to that committee, would like very much to be able to attend both of those public hearings. I was wondering if this board would consider a late start on that date.
You know, there are 5 Thursdays in February. January.
What date are you talking?
We're talking about Thursdays.
17th.
Okay.
What
17th.
do you think of simply instead of having it on the 17th, put it on the 24th, January 24th?
I think I don't
With
believe we have
time, this
anything
way,
scheduled yet.
get you off the hook, you can go to where you want to go.
I won't be here the 24th, but you
And
know,
and
that
I'm
should.
and I'm not certain I'm here the 24th. I
Okay,
know
well,
I'm
maybe
absent.
running into quorum problems then,
Yeah, right.
right?
Yeah,
Well,
so
and Robin, unless we're talking about other issues yet to be.
I was just, it just occurred to me that maybe a 2:30 start, if there was a 90-minute window instead of just 60 minutes.
We could get it kicked off and do the opening thing, and then get at least the first hour of it, and then
I would have
actually
thought,
run
no,
down here.
I think it's really important, knowing the background and knowing your involvement, that you be available for that whole hearing, however long it takes. I have no idea how long it'll
But we
take.
have to do it again at 6:30 and do it the previous night. and-
I would have thought that'd be much better to postpone our Board of Health meeting,
Yeah,
or precede it, you know, the 10th is another option. Susan, will you be available on the 10th? So we would meet then.
That Thursday, the 10th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
you'll
That
do-
I can do.
So what about that, Bob? If we meet on the 3rd and the 10th, and then a 2-week gap?
3rd and the 10th, and then you wouldn't meet again until February the 7th.
That would
That's
be
a
a
long
4.
haul.
Well, we could meet on the 31st, just for the hell of it.
I won't be here then either.
Oh, well, you're a lost cause there.
Okay, that's all
I
right.
will poll the Board of Health members to let everyone have the opportunity to check their calendars, see if we have a quorum for the 24th.
Okay.
If we do, then we'll reschedule that meeting for the 24th, if the board desires.
I mean,
I
all
may have a
we're
conflict.
asking for is starting at 2:30.
That'll be the fallback, I guess,
Big
is that we
fallback.
postpone
Okay.
the.
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you for
Is-
bringing
you
that
let
up.
us know.
If I could ask, is the Water Quality, Wastewater Management Steering Committee meeting that morning as well?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You don't,
Is that
you
okay?
you don't want Board of Health, you'll be too tired.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Daniels has been in the audience. I don't know if, what? Oh,
Do
no.
you want to, is there something you want to speak to us about?
Well, I came with only one question I needed for verification.
Why don't you come up
Bob will
here?
give me that.
Okay, why don't you come up here? Call us an extension from Public and Press, but we really are running out of time. I know that there's a 5:30 deadline we're living under.
Come with one question, but since
Yeah.
I've been here, I've created 4 more for you. 2 of them are gonna be on the lighter side, and you need a little humor here. So the first.
No humor today, believe me.
The first 2 are the humorous ones. One is, being the Board of Health, could you do something about my posterior sitting in them chairs?
Oh, they're not comfortable.
I'm a gynecologist, Mr. Daniels, and you don't want to get into my hands.
And the second is, I think I need Mr. Canning to give you a citing for non-compliance. It's because I've noticed that you're operating with a safety hazard over there with
The
no.
plug's uncovered.
Plug's uncovered, so.
Oh, yes, oh, Lord.
That's actually, that's the building department, not the health department.
So with them 2, and then the third one, and I'll get you the first one,
Yeah.
which it is I find a little concern for our boards that the abuse that you people take, that we're gonna find members to sit in to do things that you're
Ah,
doing.
good point.
And that is a
Good point.
very, very
Good point.
bad issue that's happening. Not only your board, I see with other boards, that you're being accused of actually doing your jobs. I'm concerned as we go on that we're going to lose volunteers to step up.
I'll tell you, there's one volunteer sitting right here, they almost lost last
See,
week.
That's my concern there.
Yeah.
I don't know how you approach that's not us, but it needs to be brought up to solve this problem. And you did a very, very fine job of replying, and I think the replies have to come as you did when that stuff happens, so you handle
No,
it yourself.
Mr. Daniels, I have consulted an attorney about my rights.
Yeah, and that's a smart move. So that all being said, what I really come for is probably directing to Bob. It's on-site sewer treatment, and I need clarification. Now, on-site sewer treatment means, I assume that's not allowed. You know,
I don't know, on-site sewage disposal or,
On-site sewer treatment.
We use the nitrogen reducing systems on site?
you're talking about the
No.
juggler?
Yes.
Okay,
Which-
that is approved by the state.
What is that, Bob?
What is
It's
it?
a
It's a
juggler.
technology.
We spoke about this when we licensed a contractor with the technology called the Juggler. It is a tank with a filtering mechanism where they separate out the sludge and scum into a tank, and then they filter the gray water that lies between the sludge and scum. And after filtration, it's returned back to the septic tank. And when that businessman came forward with this vehicle, we checked with the state. It is a technology that's been approved, so it is being used.
These are trucks that go around a pump
It's a-
system.
it's a
These
pump
are not-
truck with the filtration.
This is not in your ground buried underneath. These are,
Right.
these are the new honey dippers.
Oh, we've seen those, right, okay.
Yeah, the result of the process is that the somewhat filtered gray water goes back into the septic tank at the residence being serviced, and the more concentrated sludge and solids are
Taken away.
retained in the truck and would be deposited at Tri-Town. And when we discussed this previously, the only question I seem to recall raising was, does Tri-Town need to adjust its fees to allow, if it receives this sort of material, because it's a much higher concentration of elements that are of concern?
I do believe that they did make an adjustment on the fees because of the type of material.
They have. Yeah, it's been an issue for a little bit. I had looked into these trucks a couple of years ago and by looking at our bylaws and the way it's set up and answers that I was getting. I don't believe I'd come to you, or maybe I did. Checking into it, saying that it is billed as an on-site septic treatment. And trying years back, trying to get a transfer station there see if we could bring trucks in, and you had dealt with it with somebody else pumping back there.
Yeah.
That's what brought the issue on. I had looked into it then and basically was told that, no, you cannot do any on-site treatment. it has to go to a treatment plant, and it needs a licensed operator, licensed sewer plant operator to do this. So that's what I was just getting the clarification on that. It seems to be then, if our codes say, our local codes say we can't do it, then the state is, well, I'm understanding, saying that the state can override you or override what our codes are
I
telling us.
don't believe our codes say you cannot do it. The issue of, in fact, it's written in our regulations for subsurface sewage disposal, a process that is required to set up a storage and transportation site. And we do have protocols in there that have to be met. We don't have any. That proposal which the board had seen, which was really the outline for the regulation, never came to be. The board accepts for maintenance of septic systems. The only maintenance of septic systems is pumping. And per the DEP, this falls under pumping. It is not introducing any chemicals or additives, enzymes into septic systems. It is a filtered effluent which is going back into the tank. You know, we discussed it when this came up, and it's state approved, and therefore is accepted by the town.
Is this the kind of discussion that we need, the Board of Health needs to, I mean, we can't add any expertise to it about studying it.
No, but I figured I would go straight to the horse's
Oh,
mouth.
okay.
I
We're not-
wouldn't jump through it, because I got information in the past, not from Bob, but checking on it, and it was a little confusing, so I figured I'd go right to the horse.
Because there is no process applied to what's drawn out of the tank aside from separation, and there's no discharge,
Well, that was
I would be somewhat skeptical about calling the process treatment.
Well, that was the issue that I was looking at, is because it is I had an issue in another town. Said to me that once you pump it out, you cannot put it back in. It's a technical, but once you pump it out of the septic system, you're not allowed to put it back in again, which brought us a problem we were working with, is because some systems are, they're, say somebody hasn't pumped it 5 or 6 years. They built a lot of sludge up and a lot of mat on the top. You can't break it up. So we call it backflow. We'll pump it on and put the pump in reverse and cause turbulence to break this up so we can pump it, which it was a technical problem in another town that I was having that issue with, of saying that the code doesn't allow you to put it back in. So it brought the issue up of here is, well, first now we're calling it treatment. It's advertised as treatment to the client, to you. And then at the same time, I'm turning around, pumping the whole load back in and leaving it. I'm not taking it away. I'm pumping it back in and leaving it, which leaves the door open. I could then take the product from your place, and I find then I go to her place, I can now push it back into hers with a little gray area here. So I'm just trying to clarify it all so you don't have a stumbling block.
Yeah, I'd have some concerns about the material being moved from one location to another. I think if it's drawn out of a tank, separated, and then a less hazardous component of it returned to the tank from which it came, that's a completely different matter from it being returned to a tank from which it did not come.
She just leaves the door open now that if, you had this problem in the past with other pumpers, which you had.
They weren't around.
They're not around.
We-
But
we-
it
These guys weren't around, yeah.
it opened the door
Yeah,
up, that you've got the door open now, that if I was to be cited, and I'm sitting there unloading something into her system that I know that I can pump it back into because it's a good system, I can simply say, I've got this particular machine, and I'm not allowed to push this back in. But I'm taking 1,000 gallons out, but I'm putting 2,000 back in because now I'm taking a product from another client.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Yeah.
we're gonna vacate this room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is not
it may
exactly.
be something I need to take
This
with
is
Bob.
hypothetical, incredibly interesting,
yes.
but
Not
would it
today.
be possible to continue the discussion with Bob?
Yes, it
And I
would.
move that this meeting be adjourned?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second, but if I could just, as part of the discussion of the motion, Bob, if in your research you think this is something that needs to come back to this board as a policy matter, or if we need to consider modification of our regulations to address this, certainly don't hesitate to bring it back to us.
Excellent.
But Mr. Anderson,
You want to talk about it?
today's not the day, now's not the time.
No.
It's a completely different issue, and one that I certainly don't have the mental energy left to even try to grasp anything new today. Thank you very much for coming, by the way, because there's a lot of issues that
There's a
came up.
motion on the floor.
Yeah, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will add another motion of a Merry Christmas, a Happy New